Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel. It's been 2 months since the conclusion of Season 15, in which Thomas Ronhaar saw his name up in lights for the first time on the PC platform, capturing the title in a three-way bout right to the finish. But tonight, we're hitting the reset button, and we're heading to Bahrain for round number 1. With a new game, new tracks, and new drivers on the block, Season 15 is set to be one of the most exciting seasons in WOR history. And for the first time in the commentary box, my name is Dan Field, but for the first time in the commentary box, I'm being joined by Ryan Jacobs. Ryan, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Dan. This should be a really exciting opener. You know, we've seen already some clips of Bahrain and some of the things that, is going to introduce us to new things. I'm very excited for this new season to begin. First time, obviously, commentating on PC for me. So, this is going to be new experience for me, but I'm really looking forward to commentating over this really talented grid.
I know this grid is incredible. I'm so excited to get underway for Bahrain tonight. We've got the first, I believe, 5 tracks on the calendar given out already. I'll put that on your screens now. You can see today we're at Bahrain. Next up, we're headed to Austria, then Great Britain, Sao Paulo, Mexico City, and Belgium. Very exciting first 6 races. And Ryan, where are you most looking forward to go to?
I think Great Britain and Austria, to me, they're 2 really exciting tracks. Britain never really disappoints, but Austria's obviously had some new track designs on it, so I think Austria will be quite exciting. Sort of like edits of the curb, so new challenges for drivers obviously to learn, and Austria's never really disappointed in terms of the action around there. So for me, I think Austria is the one I'd probably most look forward to, but I know Brazil's always had, Sao Paulo's had some big history here in WR. So yeah, all the tracks, it's a really good opening calendar so far.
Yeah, I remember Sao Paulo was our first race last season. I think that was Nicolas Longue that took victory there after a penalty. I think it was speeding or something from Thomas Ronhaar. Then the season before there was that insurmountable challenge from Jarno Opmeer, who was so far down the order. I believe he ended up winning after Jake Benham got taken out. That was a fantastic race. Hopefully on July 16 we're going to see more action like that. But heading into tonight, we're going to have a look at our grid, which is once again on your screen. In the Red Bull, Rune Pedreño and Flores Viers. In the Ferrari, Tomek Paradzic and Nicolas Longue. In the Mercedes, the very familiar faces of Jarno Opmeer and Jake Benham. Alpine is headed up by Luke Smith and Philip Presnader. Otis Lawrence and Danny Moreno in the McLaren. Gianni Kinci and Andrei Tarabukin in the Alfa Romeo. Icabaena and Fabrizio Donoso heating up the Aston Martin. Then in the Haas, it's Max Wiesel and Ulash Zeldrum. AlphaTauri is Dylan Warren and Piotr Stahelek. And then finishing off the grid in the Williams, Alvaro Carreton and Shanaka Clay. And Ryan, what have we got to say about this grid? It is filled to the brim with talent.
It really is. Some new names obviously coming through. A lot of young academy drivers making their names. Otis Lawrence being one of them. I think he'll be one to watch around here. Bahrain, he's very, very quick around, and he's already shown some very good early signs of pace. But obviously, that Mercedes duo of Jarno Opmeer and Jake Benham will certainly be a team to watch this season. 2 incredibly talented drivers. So, but there's so many names on here. It's endless, the talent from top to bottom. Anybody can really challenge for this title, and anybody can win it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had 4 seasons on PC so far, and every single season it's been a different champion. So who knows who's going to come out on top in season 15? And of course, this grid tonight isn't all we have to offer. Lucas Blakely, unfortunately, I don't believe he's very well at the minute, so he's not racing tonight. And then Matthijs van Erven and Thomas Ronhaar, the Dutch duo in the Alfa Romeo, they're down at the factory this weekend, so we won't be seeing them this week. But Ryan, with them coming in the next few weeks, and they're going to be behind on points, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. I think they're really going to take the fight to the guys that are starting tonight.
Yeah, they are. Thomas Ronhaar, we already know how quick he is. Obviously a former champion, and he's just incredibly gifted. And Matthijs van Erven, his teammate as well, very, very quick. And obviously Lucas Blakely, the defending F1 Esports world champion. So, he'll be looking to come back next week, hopefully, when he's feeling much better, and he'll be certainly coming for this title.
Absolutely, it is looking to be one of the best seasons in WOR history. And I remember Lucas Blakely last season, I'm pretty sure it was, he was in the title fight right to the end, despite only starting 5 races in that season, because he was so dominant in the beginning few races of the season. And I definitely think that he is going to be, of course, the defending esports champion. He'll be the one to watch once he gets in that car. Let's talk about tonight, though. It is Bahrain, a very high-speed circuit, a track that everyone's familiar with. It's normally always at the front of the calendar. What have we got to say about it?
Yeah, it's obviously, these drivers have found some new ways to go around this track quite quickly. Obviously, it's a new handling model which all the drivers are getting used to, and I think, it's a different kind of challenge compared to last game, especially in qualifying. It's going to be key to be able to drift around the corners, because that is the fastest way around Bahrain at this moment in time. So, if people can, master the drifting around here, so expect some very, very quick lap times. But overall, this track is really exciting in terms of, the action it brings. The drama and the overtaking possibilities are endless around here. So, expect a lot of overtaking around here, in my opinion. That's what I'm hoping for, at least, anyway.
Yeah, there's plenty of overtaking opportunities. The heavy braking zone into turn number 1. Same thing goes for turn number 4. And of course, in that second sector, we could see some side-by-side action for quite a lot of that part of the track. It is the slaloming downhill section. It's incredible to watch, and hopefully these drivers going to look to have some fun this evening. Last time we came here in season 14, it was Nicholas Longe taking victory. He is racing tonight, and I've just got it on my other monitor here. It was Jake Benham finishing second, and third place was Alvaro Carreton. So all 3 of those guys are racing this evening. They've got the talent around this circuit, and we're hoping they're going to be in the fight together with some other guys as well. Trying to think of names to look out for. I'm really excited to see Danny Moreno racing around here. I mean, he's a driver I've been very familiar with all the way since like F1 2020 on the PlayStation side of things. I certainly think that he's going to be able to take a fight to these guys. And of course, Jarno Opmeer, we have to talk about him. He is seemingly, he's looking really fast on this game. He's a 2-time F1 Esports champion, season 13 WR champion. You got to watch out for him.
Yeah, and he's already shown some good signs of pace. Today he's uploaded a time trial world record around this circuit, so he's obviously feeling very, very quick around here, so he'll be definitely one to watch. I think Nicholas Longo, for me, will also be a driver to watch, and Fabrizio Donoso, he's very, very quick around this Bahrain circuit, having very good performances in the past. That Williams duo of Alvaro Carreton and Shanaka Clay, so much experience in that Williams team, so I really do expect those two to really put on a little bit of a show for us maybe, and could get some very good points on the board for Williams.
Absolutely, Alvaro Carreton, Shanaka Clay for Williams. They've been such a solid pairing in WOR. When they're at the front, they're normally together working on ways to get by on their rivals. And I'm certainly thinking that it's going to be much of the same this evening. I'm going to turn the question to everyone in the live chat. At the minute, we have 280 people watching, myself and Ryan, before we even get into any racing. So I take that as a win. But I'm going to turn the question to all of you. Who are you looking out for this evening? I'm going to expect a lot of Jarno Opmeers and Jake Benhams, but are there any surprises potentially in store? We'll have to find out. However though, Ryan, it is time to get into qualifying. Over to the race scene. Nice little sunset here in Bahrain. We're getting ready for Q1.
Yeah, and everybody will most likely go out on the intermediate tyres as per usual. Drivers always like to do this, is to make sure their setups are working well and the car's feeling great, and make sure they have no issues with the wheels or pedals. But yeah, it's going to be a long way in qualifying. It is full qualifying as well, remember. So everybody will be looking to save tyres and try and maximise this going through on one set if possible. So it's going to be very, very close. Bahrain is always very, very close in qualifying, and this is such a close competitive grid that I think anything can really happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just seen a question that I was asking to myself be answered in the live chat about the man in P8 at the minute. Nemesis Prime is Chanakinchi. That's certainly an interesting name that he's chosen to run with this evening, but that is Chanakinchi in that Alfa Romeo. We've got a few guys on outlaps at the minute. The first man out on circuit is Max Wiesel in the Haas. Well, we got to say about him, he was on the PlayStation side of things for a good few years, only recently made the transition, I think maybe on the last 1 or 2 games. He made the transition over to the PC. See what he can do this evening. It's a star-studded grid. I'm getting giddy looking at it here. Just so excited to see what is in store for us.
Yeah, Max Wissel's a very, very good driver, and he's had some very good races on the previous game. So, he's definitely one to watch in the Haas here tonight. Obviously, got a long way to go, but he's very, very competitive, very, very quick, and he's not afraid to make any bold moves. So I'd really keep a close eye on him because, he goes a bit under the radar in some races, but he always likes to pop up with a podium here and there, and he always gets good points on the board whenever he really is driving, and he tends to really stay out of incidents. So, I think, Max is definitely one to watch here tonight, and he's gonna hopefully set a good time on the board on these intermediate tyres.
He's struggling into turn number 14, but off the exit of here, we'll see what he can do on this set. And we can just talk about the circuit as we go along. Of course, turn number 1 is right at the end of this straight. It's a very tight right-hander, so you really do have to spot your braking point just about at the 100-meter board, and then of course it immediately feeds you in to turn number 2. So if you run too deep through here, your lap is going to be in shambles because you're going to kill your run down towards turn number 4, where you're reaching what I believe is the peak of the circuit, and it's all downhill through the second sector as Max Wiesel's just taking it nice and careful. It'd be a little embarrassing to have a little spin on the intermediate tyres, but this is definitely where the tyres will be getting the most kicking through these long-winded lefts and rights in the second sector, then down towards the heavy braking zone hairpin, where we've seen a few incidences in the past week. Hopefully we're not going to be repeating them that often this evening. Down towards turn number 10, where you were talking about it earlier, you can really drift through that corner. I don't know how it actually works in that regard. I think it was John Evans on Twitter. He posted a clip of him completely losing the car, still not losing time, and I wonder, Ryan, if anyone's going to abuse that tonight.
Yeah, I think they definitely will, and I think to answer a little bit of your question, I think it will be the differential and the brake bias will be so key for some of these drivers here tonight. You'll probably see them fiddling it around on the wheels, because changing the brake bias really can help rotate the car, as also help the car turn in. So yeah, expect the brake bias and stuff to all be played around with while they're on laps, especially into turn 1. They'll always like to put a drift into that corner because they've really got to rotate the car to straight line to get on the power nice and early. So it is interesting to see that this is the way you have to really drive quick on this game around circuits like Bahrain. But yeah, that's what a lot of drivers will be doing, a lot of drifting, especially in qualifying, that is. I don't expect it for the race as much, as it's just not as good for the tyres, but especially in qualifying, I expect a lot of drivers just chucking the car around.
Some in-depth knowledge there from you, Brian. I mean, I don't know anything really about these cars, so it is great to get some technical insight on how things work. I just go on the Steam Workshop and load a setup. If it feels nice to drive, I don't really care what it is, but everyone here, they're spending a lot of time on this game, not just driving around a track and hoping to go as fast as possible. They're really spending all of their time in the garage, working the setup, tuning to how they like to drive, and that is what separates the good drivers from the very best. As Dylan Warren is about to come up towards the line, we saw him earlier on in the week in PSGL. He's put up a spectacular performance around this circuit. I'm hoping for much the same from him. He's a bit of a fan favourite. He's a bit of a hood legend, I'd say, in the league racing scene. He's the first man to set a 1:32.5 so far, and I'd expect we're going to see a lot quicker times than this. It's normally around the 10-minute mark that we start to see these slick tyres coming out, and hopefully we've got about 2 minutes left. We can have a few more guys exiting onto the circuit.
Yeah, it's just a waiting game now for everybody, and nobody wants to be the first man out. But also as well, I think it's an interesting point to mention on this new game as well, there is marbles on the tracks, and that really does affect the drivers. And you'll notice through the first sector in particular, many drivers might not be able to improve their lap times due to the effect of the marbles, and effectively loses a little bit of grip. and drivers really do lose a bit of time from it, especially into sector 1 and turn 1 in particular. If they go a little bit too wide, they will get up some marbles on their tyres, and it really does affect their run. So that's quite an interesting point I thought I'd bring up, because a lot of these drivers will struggle with it, especially later on in qualifying. Usually their first run will probably be their best sector 1 time, so they might struggle to improve in that first sector. But yeah, I thought that was just an interesting point to mention.
You're absolutely right about that. I've had a few marbles being scraped onto my tyres every time I've run deep whilst driving with my friends, and that does happen quite often. I remember commentating last season, of course it was myself and Luke. We were saying how we're so much worse than these guys, but I can't really say that this season, given that we are being joined, of course, by P2 in the 2021 Challengers, getting a lot of experience. I thought I'd stroke your ego a little bit before getting into this one, with just 11 minutes left to go. Certainly, you could put up a fight with some of these guys. Is there any? Do you think if you're on this grid, Ryan, where would you be placing?
Probably around this circuit, probably last. This track is honestly such a nightmare to really hook up, and the drifting part is just it just does not work for me at the minute. And I've tried Bahrain, and honestly, it is not a fun track to drive. So yeah, these drivers, I don't know how they do it, but the way they've learned this drifting mechanism is unbelievable, to be honest. So yeah, I wouldn't really put much of a fight around here, unfortunately. But maybe around a track a bit like Qatar or something, where it's a bit easier and you don't really have to drift as much. Maybe a little bit of a better chance.
Of course, Qatar, we saw that in the social races earlier on in the week. I believe it was Monday. So 6 days ago, we saw some of these drivers taking to the Qatar circuit. And a lot of guys looking to be really fast. Are there any names from that circuit, from that race, where you're going to be looking out for them potentially if we head to Qatar later on in the season? Who really did impress you there?
I think Longue was really quick in the social race that was held around there. Unfortunately for him, he had a bit of a mistake in qualifying, where he decided to miss the pit lane entry and decided to drive backwards and then got disqualified. But yeah, it's so many little things like that, which is quite funny, and it's all pre-season social races, so it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, Longue definitely caught my eye a little bit in terms of his setup, especially with Tomek Paragis as well. They both worked really well. This Ferrari duo are really strong together, so they showed some good signs of teamwork early on there. So keep close on the Ferrari duo, because I think they'll be very quick and very good teammates, showing good signs of that anyway.
Yep, and they're the first ones out on circuit. Everyone is now on a set of the soft compound of tyres. They're going to be getting their out laps and then their first push laps of season 15 underway. It is Tomek Paragis leading the way. He's going to be a slight disadvantage given the fact that no one's really taken to the circuit. The guys like who are further down the order, that would be Rune Pedroño or Floris Veers, who is right at the back of the train. They're going to have a little bit more rubber on the circuit. There'll be more grip for them to play with, and we should see quicker laps from guys that come out a little bit later. However, Tomek Paragis, he's not going to let that phase him as he comes out of the exit of the final corner, getting the foot down and opening up the DRS to take to this lap. We'll see what he can do as he heads up towards turn number 1, reaching speeds excess over 200 miles per hour at the heavy braking zone of turn number 1, down into third, then getting the power immediately through here in towards turn number 2, put it into 4th and 5th, and then open up the DRS on the uphill climb towards turn number 4. It's a high speed entry through here. You want to spot your braking point nice and early through there, but off the exit there's a lot of runoff for you to play with, so it's not too punishing. Now in towards the spectacular sector 2, pressing the apex on the inside and then heading down towards the hairpin, where he's going to take to possibly one of the slowest corners along this circuit. It's a short uphill climb towards turn number 9 and 10, where we might see him drift a little bit through here. Is he going to be able to do it? He misses apex on the inside line. I'm not too sure. I didn't have the best camera angle to see the drift, but so far it's looking like a nice lap from Tomek Paragis.
Yeah, he's done quite well so far. I think it's a lack of grip as well early on in Q1. He missed that apex just ever so slightly. That downhill is so hard to get right and really spot your braking point and get the car turned in. But through this middle sector, he is absolutely flown, and he's got a very good exit off turn 13 there. Car in front of him might slightly distract him, but up into turn 14 and 15 now, Tips that inside corner a little bit too much. I'll unsettle the car, but he's got a good exit, and it's going to come up to the line now. Opens DRS. It's a 127.893. Not too bad of a bank early on.
Yeah, we'll see what he can. We'll see what his teammate Nicholas Longate can do as he comes across the line. He's up by 500ths on Tomek Parad, just as more cars coming towards the end of their laps, and that is Max Wiesel coming across the line with a 1 minute 27.830, just 100th quicker. As there is Flores Vias to the top of the order, one of the more experienced drivers on this grid. He is now provisionally the man on top for this session. Let's ride on board with one of the McLarens. That would be Otis Lawrence, the hot shot on this grid. He's one of the youngest in the league racing at the minute. Comes across the line. He's 2,000 slower than Max Wiesel. Shanaka Clay goes to the top of the order. He is now leading this session. Danny Moreno is up next to the line. We'll see what he can do. It's only P12 for him. A disappointing run from the McLaren driver. Ikabaena up towards the line. He goes behind his fellow countryman with a 1 minute 28.1 as one of the Mercedes just crossed the line. That would have been Jake Benham. Let's see Jarno Opmeer, how he's doing. The season 13 champion looking to take vengeance this season as Alvaro Carreton now makes it a Williams 1-2, and he's the first driver to dip into the 1 minute 27.7. Jarno Opmeer now through the final corner as Rim Pedreño's just gone into P8. One of the AlphaTauris of Dylan Warren can only muster up 17th position. Jarno Opmeer the last across the line, and it is P11 for the Dutchman, just ahead of his teammate. And just like that, Ryan, all of the laps over and done with, or at least the first runs so far. Alvaro Carreton leading from Shanaka Clay, and then Forrest Vias in third.
Yeah, I was not expecting that to be the top three so far. Obviously, early days, and it's only the first few runs on the soft compounded tyres. So, yeah, everybody getting their first banker lap times in on these tyres. But what a lap times that is from Alvaro Carreton and Shanaka Clay. I told you to watch out for the Williams duo, but I was not expecting them to perform so well early on. It's obviously only Q1, long way to go, but showing some very early signs of some good pace. It's the Williams team.
Absolutely, Williams looking to be very strong so far in this session, but at the other end of the spectrum we've got Luke Smith, Danny Moreno, Dylan Warren, Philip Presnader and Ikabaena in the drop zone. We'll have a look at the gap to the leader and look at how close this session is. From first down to ninth, not even separated by a 1/10 of a second. The entire field spread is just under 4/10 of a second, and I was thinking coming into this one, surely this is when the game is going to be the most volatile in its most volatile state, where we're going to see so many different lap times ranging because everyone's just getting used to this new handling model. There's going to be a lot of external factors like the heat playing with the minds of the drivers. You know, maybe some more mistakes would have been coming out, but that doesn't look like it to be the case at all so far in this session. We're looking to have one of the closest grid potentially in league racing.
Yeah, the setups I think is a really key part of this as well, in terms of how everybody's building it, and obviously a lot of these drivers are experimenting with certain things, and obviously have a little bit of a baseline. But you know, if you find something new and it goes quicker, you know, maybe Williams have found that slight edge over their competitors. Who knows? But early days, and you know, it's so early on in the game cycle that nobody really would have had the perfect setup unlocked just yet, obviously. So that's why I think as well the times are so close. Everybody's got quite similar setups in terms of at this part of the game, because everybody's still experimenting and trying to find out new things.
That's a very interesting take that you've got there, and I definitely do agree with it, that everyone is just experimenting at the minute, but for now, sort of the meta is relatively going to be the same for all of these drivers. Not much innovation going on thus far, but as this game progresses and everyone gets used to it, we're definitely going to see more sort of different techniques when it comes to the setup, as now everyone is coming out on circuit for their second runs in the session. Got yellow flags in sector 1, so unfortunately can't actually see the timer that we have left in this session. However, Alvaro Carreton and now Max Wiesel believe that they are safe enough on the 1 minute 27s that they have. It's 1 minute 27.789 for Alvaro Carreton. Shanaka Clay has also retired, and I'd imagine that Flores Vias is not going to want to come out onto the circuit. However, fifth downwards are all out on circuit. They will be setting their final times. The first one up to get their lap in, Andrei Tarabukin, sitting right on the cusp of elimination in 14th. he is only ahead by half a tenth of a second. So one minor mistake on this lap and he doesn't improve. Luke Smith and everyone else behind only needs to find a little bit of time. So it really is crunch time for these guys.
It really is, and if you're wondering why everybody's going so slow around the track, they're obviously just warming up their tyres. They'll change the brake bias to around 70%, and they'll just put the brake down, and it really just warms up the tyres, and they don't get any tyre wear. So that is why these drivers are going so slow, and that is why you're seeing a lot of yellow flags everywhere. It's down to that realistically. But like you said, Andrei Tarbukin, he's got to deliver on this lap now, because this is a critical lap for him, because I guarantee the drivers behind him will all improve.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very in touch and go for Andrei Tarbukin. He needs to be on his A game as he approaches turn number 1 at 202 miles per hour. A little bit of a slide through turn number 1, but he's taken that very nicely indeed on the power as early as possible and opening up the DRS, heading down in towards turn number 4. Fast entry through here at 190 miles per hour, then kiss the apex on the inside. Let the car drift out wide as you take to the second sector, where you're going to have to fling the car through these corners. Really maximum commitment through here. There's no margin for error, but you really do have to put everything on the line when you're at this level of the game. As now Tarbukin in towards turns number 9 and 10. We'll see what he can do through here as he hits the first apex very nicely on the inside. He misses it ever so slightly through turn number 10. That seems to be what most drivers are doing thus far. I know the timing tower in the top left of your screen actually does block that corner ever so slightly, so it is quite unfortunate. Hopefully that does get fixed, as, oh dear, Andrei Tarbukin gets it all wrong through turn number 11. He's into the wall and he is potentially out of Q1. He's not going to be taking part in Q2. That is a hard hit into the outside barrier for him as the clock strikes 0, but it looks like he is going to be eliminated.
Yeah, it's a big mistake there from Tarbukin, and just got on the power a bit too early, and he got caught on the outside curb, really unsettled the car. He really tried to save it, but there was no chance in saving it after that one, and that's a real shame for Tarbukin. But Otis Lawrence, he is improving through the middle sector now, and Fabrizio Donoso goes quickest with a 127.748, and then Nicolas Longue goes into the 127.6s, so it's all coming down now. Jake Benham goes up into P3, Otis Lawrence coming up to line now, he goes into the 6s as well.
Oh, I'm a little bit nervous for the likes of Max Wiesel. You know, he's not looking all that safe at the minute because everyone has to find just the slightest amount of time to get ahead of him. He's already down into 9th. Stahalek's come across the line. P14. Tomek Paragic coming back into the pit lane. Unfortunately, Philip Presnader eliminated from qualifying. Danny Moreno improving by a decent amount in Sector 2. We'll see what we can do as he opens up the DRS, coming across the line now. Where is he going to place that McLaren? It is 13th position. He eliminates Chanakinchi. Dylan Warren comes across the line. He can't improve out of that drop zone, and he is unfortunately going to be out, and the bottom 5 is set. It is Chanakinchi, Piotr Stahalek, Andrei Tarbukin, Dylan Warren and Philip Presnader, all eliminated in qualifying. We saw so many guys improving on their laps. Alvaro Caraton, who led this session before the final runs, dropped to I think it was 7th position. So massive improvements from these guys. But it is Nicolas Longue leading the way from Ulash Zildrum in 2nd, Otis Lawrence in 3rd.
Yeah, really close qualifying, and you know, Jarno Opmeer came out at the end there, goes up into P4. It's a very good lap at the end there. Purple middle sector, who's really flying, was the Dutchman. But yeah, really interesting end to qualifying, and a few eliminations, which I was a bit surprised about.
Yep. The bottom 5, as I said previously, Chanakinchi, Piotr Stahalek, Andrei Tarbukin, Dylan Warren and Philip Presnader, they will be taking no further part in qualifying. Still, with all the improvements, the field spread remains mostly the same. It is now 0.5 of a second throughout the entire order. Incredibly close at times. Nicolas Longue ahead of Ulash Zildrum by just 200ths of a second. Back over to the intermission scene now. Ryan, with the bottom 5 eliminated, who are your biggest surprise?
I think Dylan Warren, especially after his performance in PSL midweek. I was really surprised to see him really, you know, not delivering qualifying, because he's got some good qualifying pace, and you know, it's a long way back now from P19. He's got a tough task ahead of him, and I think, you know, he'll be disappointed with that performance.
Yep, absolutely. A name I'm surprised about seeing eliminated, Piotr Stahalek. He really has shown his pace, especially in qualifying, I feel, and it is really unlucky that he's not going to be taking any further part. Those guys have to wait in the sidelines for Q2 and Q3 to be over and done with. I'll bring you back to to the game scene. You can see everyone coming out onto the circuit, this time on a set of the soft compounder tyres. However, this is most likely to be a scrub set that they used in Q1 just to get the banker down, and I've never really understood why they do this right at the beginning of the session. Of course, they're trying to save the tyres, and I like to think of it as giving them a little bit of a psychological advantage. Once they get onto the fresh set of the tyres, they'll be in the green for most of their lap, and that could give them the confidence to keep on pushing and, you know, make as few mistakes as possible.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's literally just to help the mentality, to be honest, boost the ego a little bit. When you're going around the lap and you're just seeing green in the top right hand corner, it really does give you some confidence. When you're flying around the corner, you're seeing 3-4 tenths improvements. I think that's really a good point to make, because a lot of these drivers do that just simply to get a banker, but also to know where they need to find that extra bit of time to extract it. So yeah, a lot of these drivers will be doing that, and really they'll be pushing very, very hard on these tyres, simply because they know they'll be on better tyres, but they need to know where to improve exactly across their next laps.
Yep, they're not going to be using these tyres at all for the rest of the session, so why not abuse them before you don't need them anymore. As the sun continues to set, we see the fog coming onto the screen. Unfortunately, there's not really much we can do about that, but hopefully it doesn't affect the race all too much, as Alvaro Carreton is the first man to begin his lap. He led most of the way of Q1. At the end of that session, of course, we didn't see him out on the circuit, and that is one thing to note. He will have an extra fresh set of the soft compound of tyres come Q3, so already, surely, Ryan, that's going to swing the advantage the way of Williams. Yeah,
100%. The Williams just look really, really comfortable, really, really confident so far early on, and you know that both first and second out, so they feel quite comfortable around here. And you know that it was such a promising performance in Q1, setting some really good banker lap time. So I wonder, you know, on these old set of tyres, will they be flying just as high? We'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely, as Alvaro Carreton continues on his lap down in towards turn number 11. We'll see what speed he reaches at this corner. Be careful on the traction through here. I didn't expect it to be so difficult, but Andrei Tarabukin unfortunately showed us that it is very easy to send yourself off the circuit and unfortunately lose the car and potentially end your session. Alvaro Carreton faces no such issues. Of course, he's going to be purple in Sector 2. He's the first man to do it so far in this session, with just over 10 minutes left to go. We'll see what he can do off the exit of the final corner on this scrub set of the tyres, so do not expect a world beater out of Alvaro Carreton coming across the line. We'll see what he can do. 1 minute 28.192 from him. Shanaka Clay immediately goes a 10th clear of him, and Max Wiesel splits the Williams as the rest of the drivers now come across the line. Jan Ortmeier with 1 minute 27.968, and then Nicolas Longue with a 27.8. That is not too far off of what he did in Q1. So I think he's going to be really pleased with how that lap has gone for him. Floris Veers continuing to impress in this session. He goes into P2 with Ruben Pedreño in P3. Jake Benham's found himself in 6th ahead of Tomek Paragic in 8th. Ulash Zildrum's just come across the line with a fantastic 1 minute 27.836. And the last few drivers to come across the line, that was, I believe, Fabrizio Donoso, and that was Ika Baena, the last one to come across the line. He survived by the skin of his teeth into Q2. See what he can do as we approach Q3 heading into this session. So a lot of Spaniards, unfortunately, near enough that drop zone, but of course we're only in the first part of the session, so I'd expect a lot more quicker times coming out as we get this session over.
Yeah, exactly, and there's some really promising lap times there early on. I did say to watch out for Longue, and you know, he's shown really good signs so far. Yildiz Yildirim, he's also flying. You know, he's had such a good performance in challenges last season, and he seemed to be bringing that pace onto this game as well. So, you know, the Haas driver is really performing at the top level early on in this game, and it's quite promising to see as well. It's refreshing to see a new name as well climb up the order as well and show some good signs of pace. But at the minute, you know, McLaren, Danny Moreno seem to be a bit nervous, I'd say. I'm not too sure how to describe it. He seems to be struggling around here, and he's got some work to do in qualifying.
Yeah, Danny Moreno is a name I'm very familiar with. We used to play Fall Guys and stuff all the way back on F1 2020. You know, he's I'd like to say a good friend of mine. I'm really hoping for the best for him. You can see actually on his tyres an example of the marbles. You know, it looks like a lot of wear on there, but it is just him running offline at parts of the circuit and then picking up some rubber. And if he did that on his actual lap, it would really put him in a tricky situation, as everyone is in the pit lane bar one man, Otis Lawrence, who is, as I mentioned before, a rising star in the F1 Esports scene, racing for McLaren tonight, filling in for the absent Lucas Blakely. I'm really hoping for the best for him. I've spoken to him, of course, when he's finished on the podium, and he's such a humble driver as well, and I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for him this evening.
Yeah, I think Otis was one of the very few drivers who decided against coming out. I just checked to see if he did an invalid lap time, and he didn't even do that. So Otis really is just going into this without even a delta to go against. So this could be quite off-putting for him, but I guess he'll still see the purple on the track map and in the top right-hand corner when he's on a lap. So that will be his indication of whether he's on a promising lap time. And I feel like to really get through around here, I think it could be to a 1:27.4 will be the aim for a lot of drivers around here, because this track is really starting to vamp up now.
Yep, absolutely. As more rubber gets laid down, the grip levels increase, and you could just see the telemetry on the bottom of your screen. Otis Lawrence riding around this circuit full throttle, but about 50% on the brakes, and I believe that is to burn off some fuel, because if you're going full throttle but you want to save the tyre wear, you know, and you're braking, it is going to burn off more fuel. That means your car's going to be lighter throughout the lap. So very smart from Otis Lawrence. It's not an uncommon thing to do, and I'd imagine as this session gets towards the back end, we're going to see a lot more drivers start to do that. And that is just the things that you need to think about, and you know what you need to do when you're at this level of the game, because it can save you a hundredth or two, but it really does make the difference, as you get to these thin margins between these drivers, as Otis Lawrence takes towards his lap, once again sliding through that first corner. It seems like a lot of drivers are doing that through here, but that seems to be the quickest way around that corner, as now through the first sector he goes. We'll see what his sector 1 time is so far. 28.4 as expected. That is the quickest time so far. He's looking really committed as he goes along this lap, using all the curves on entry and then using all the track on exit. Otis Lawrence seemingly on rails at the minute.
Yeah, he's really chucking this car around every single corner, and look at that, he's absolutely nailed that downhill left. That was superbly done into turn 10, and he's got a flying exit as well. This has been a really promising lap here from Otis. He just needs to make sure, makes no mistakes, doesn't want to do what Tarabukin did, and he has! He's got on the outside curve, just cursed him there, and he's just used the outside curve. That's going to cost him a lot of time. I think he'll have to complete this lap time just to get one on the board. That's a big mistake, and he was on a very, very quick lap time.
Yeah, really unfortunate from Otis Lawrence. We'll see what he can do as he approaches the back end of his lap. He's got an Aston Martin just in front of him. Hopefully that's not going to be too much of a visual distraction. He'll give him a nice little tow down the straight, but we'll see what he can do. He opens up the DRS now and comes across the line. 1:27.777. It's looking good. Well, it's the quickest time so far, but that is definitely not going to be enough for him. He's got all 7s on the board. Well, he's going to be hoping that he's going to get some luck later on in this session. Meanwhile, Alvaro Carreton 5/10 up on his previous best lap. He's looking really good so far, and he is purple in that second sector. We'll see what he can do. He heads down and towards turn number 14, the final braking zone along this circuit. Kiss the inside ever so slightly, then run it on the curbs off the exit. Very easy to invalidate there. It's a place where you'd expect not too many guys to run too far wide, but it does happen as Carreton comes across the line. 1:27.559. That's more like it from him.
Yeah, Jan Holmer is also on a flying lap coming out the final corner now. He's 3.5 tenths up through the middle sector. Coming up to line now, it's a 0.4 from Jan Holmer. That's a very, very good time from the Dutchman.
Very nice indeed from him. He is to the top of the order. His teammates just coming across the line now. Where can Jake Benham place his Mercedes? He's go behind Alvaro Carreton by just 300ths of a second. And Max Wiesel, once again, incredibly impressive in these qualifying sessions. He slots himself into 4th as I think Danny Moreno's just come across the line. He might have been invalid on his run. I think that was the case, as Ulash Zildrum up towards the line on 27.641. Then Ruben Pedreño's just come across the line with a 1 minute 27.691. The final car to come across the line, that is Ikabaena coming back into the pit lane. That is the first set of proper laps over and done with. Jarno Opmeer leading the way from Fabrizio Donoso, just 0.02 of a second separating them. A little bit ways back is Alvaro Carreton in P3, Jake Benham in 4th, Wiesel in 5th. The current drop zone, Nicolas Longe, Floris Viers, Tomek Paradzic, Ikabaena and Danny Moreno. Is there any surprises that we're seeing in that drop zone?
Yeah, I think the Ferrari crew and Danny Moreno, I think they're the three biggest shocks right there. I think Nicolas Longe, I was on board with him. He did invalidate his run, so it was a bit of a mistake there from the Frenchman, but he was on a very, very good time. He was purple through the first sector, so he was flying, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't matter until you put a valid lap time on the board, so he's got time to find, and I'm sure he will find it, but there'll be a bit of pressure on his shoulders now, and especially for the rest of the guys in the drop zone, because, and especially Danny Moreno as well, he decided to go back out again on the same set of tyres, and for some reason he did not decide to pit, so that's quite an interesting tactic from the Spanish driver, but you know, I think he could be one of the shock surprises to be eliminated here in Q2.
He's got enough time to come back into the pit lane, fit on a fresh set, the soft compounder tyres, and go once again as the session begins to wind down. We've just got 3 minutes left to go. I'm wondering who is going to come out on circuit. You know, the top guys, once they set their lap, they're going to be you know, sort of safe and sound in the pit lane. I want to pose a question to everyone in the live chat at the minute. Looking at the timings on your left hand side, you can see the cut-off point, 1 minute 27.7 thus far. What is that cut-off point going to be come the end of the session? What is the time that you will need to be safe in this one? Ryan, I'm going to pose the same question to you. What do you think these guys in the drop zone need to achieve to get out the session?
I think realistically it should be a 0.5, but I would not be surprised if, you know, it's a very, very high 0.4, because, you know, a lot of these drivers haven't really nailed their laps, and they, you know, they just wanted to get a reasonable second lap on new soft tyres. So I'd expect a very low 5 or a mid 5 will probably just about be the cutoff point. So the guys, you know, below Max Wiesel have got a bit of improvement, in my opinion, to make if they want to safely be through into Q3.
Yeah, Alvaro Carreton doesn't believe he is safe on his 1 minute 27.559. I'm seeing some predictions in the live chat as to what the cut-off time is going to be. Ben Price says a 0.601. Adam Weller says a 27.5. Jamie says a 0.5 or a 0.6. Maybe the cut-off. So it seems like the general consensus is that everyone is agreeing with you here, Ryan, that you need to have that 1 minute 27.5 to truly be safe in this session. We've got 13 drivers out on circuit. Jarno Opmeer and Fabrizio Donoso, they believe that they are safe in towards the next session here with just over a minute left to go. I'd like to quickly say a big thank you, because I think we've just reached 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. We've got a current 1,000 people watching as well, just Q2. You know, so it's incredible to see the growth of this league. Thank you everyone so much for hitting that button and subscribing to us. And if you haven't already, please do consider it and leaving a like on this stream, because Q2 really is going to ramp up here as Nicolas Longe, he gets his lap underway.
Yeah, this is a big, big lap for Longe. He needs to deliver. It's been a good entry into turn 1 and a good exit there out of turn 2 and 3, using all that curb on the right-hand side. That was really nicely done there from Longe. But again, this corner I find it's an absolute nightmare to keep the car stable, but he's done that perfectly, and he's got a good exit there as well. He's not going to be improving through the first sector due to obviously the marbles, which I did talk about, but it's not been a bad first sector for the Frenchman, and this hairpin is an absolute nightmare to get right. But again, these drivers are all obviously at that esports level. They can just hook it up perfectly and get on that power nice and early into this obviously downhill left, and that was again really nicely done from Longe, and this has been a very tidy lap here from the Frenchman.
We'll see what he can do as he hits the halfway point of this lap. The clock has struck 0. No new laps can be started, and Jake Benham was the last one across the line, so we need to watch out for him. As now here we go as we continue along this one. Nicholas Longuet up by 0.2 of a second on his previous best. This should put him in the range of the 1 minute 27.5, so it's on track to be a very nice lap time from Nicholas Longo. We've got a Red Bull coming up towards the line. That was Flores Veers going into P3. That should hopefully see him into the next session ahead of Alvaro Caraton. Here's Longo to the line, and it's the quickest of them all. A 1 minute 27.397 from him. Incredible effort from him. His teammate Tomek Paragic comes across the line with P4 as Otis Lawrence to the top of the order. Wow, insane stuff from him. He goes ahead of Nicholas Longo, 1 minute 27.351. Up next, we've got Alvaro Caraton, the man we've seen sort of being the man to beat in qualifying so far. He's about to come up towards the line. Can he beat Otis Lawrence at the top of the order? To 1 minute 27.406 from him. Not quite good enough to get himself ahead of everyone else. Unfortunately, Ikabayana will be eliminated from this session. He is out of qualifying as now more and more times come thick and fast. Shanaka Clay, that's a big shock. 11th and out. Danny Moreno has found himself going into P4 and surviving in this session. Rune Pedreño eliminated. Azildrum eliminated. Jake Benham to the line. Just about squeezes through in P10. And Luke Smith will be the man that unfortunately is at the expense of Jake Benham. He will be 11th position, but that brings us to the end of Q2. Otis Lawrence with a surprising lap from him, 1 minute 27.350. That was the time to beat, and no one could. He's half a tenth clear of Nicholas Longuet, and Alvaro Caraton just a few hundredths back from him. But the drop zone, Luke Smith, Shanaka Clay, Ulash Azildrum, Rune Pedreño, and Ikabayana all eliminated from this session.
Yeah, all that's Zildrum. I think that's the biggest surprise. He was up by a tenth coming into the final sector, so I was really surprised to see him get eliminated there. He must have just invalidated on the exit of the final corner. So that's a really for the Turkish driver. But yeah, that was unbelievable, that qualifying, and you know, a 0.5 was just about enough for Jake Benham to survive. But you know, he's under pressure, and he'll be on for a big lap here in Q3 though.
Yep, absolutely. Q3 about to get underway. I've brought us back over to the intermission scene. Any big surprises that you think have been eliminated from that one? I think there's one that I'm certainly thinking about. That's Shanaka Clay.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I think after that Q1 performance, he was looking really, really quick. And, you know, I was just on board with him, and he was down by a tenth and a half through the middle sector. So that is where he must have made a huge mistake. And that was unfortunately the end of qualifying for him. But I think Danny Moreno, he must have been listening, because he decided to wake up on that final lap, and he delivered a very, very good lap to put a 0.4 on the board and safely get through. But yeah, Danny Moreno's got a lot of pressure on him, and I would love to see him again deliver a great lap like he just did in Q1.
Absolutely, he really did pull it out of the bag to secure his spot in Q3, and now we've got the drivers that will be fighting it out for pole position. Let us know, everyone, in the live chat who you have got for pole position, and Ryan, who is it going to be? Who is going to be the man starting from P1 in the opener of WOR Season 15?
That's a big question, and I think, to be honest, it could go down to three people: Jan Otmir, Nicholas Longuet, and I think Otis Lawrence. I think they're the three they've really got to keep a close eye on. And for me, I think it might just be Longuet. He might just be able to pull it out.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing a few guys in the live chat putting their predictions in. Josiah Russell says Jarno, as does Thomas. Jay Alex says Otis for pole position. I'm trying to think who else has also got their predictions in. I think I'll give everyone a little bit of time to get their preds in. I'll go a different way to you. You've said Nicholas Longuet. The chat mostly going for Jarno Otmir, so I'm going to go with Otis Lawrence for pole position, the rising star in WOR and the league racing scene. A lot of people are agreeing with me as well. We've got Luca and Elo Ben Beditz saying that too. Trip is saying Longuet for pole position. Ben Price going the way of Alvaro Caraton, as does Adrian. And yeah, a lot of guys getting their names thrown into the ring here, and I really do like that is the case, because there's so many different ways that this qualifying session could go, and we're just 10 minutes away from finding out that answer.
Yeah, and it can really just go any way, to be honest. And we saw Danny Moreno was struggling in Q2, and he could just pull it out. This guy is a top level esports talent, and on their day they can really just pull out laps out of thin air. So I wouldn't count anybody out in this top 10 who can really get pole. So it's going to be incredibly close though between every single one of them. Obviously a lot of these drivers will be out on used soft tyres, but maybe some of them might decide to go out on some new soft tyres if they've been able to get through on one run in each or two runs. So it'll be quite interesting to see what will happen between all these drivers.
Yeah, no one has been able to get through into Q3 by just doing one lap in each session, so everyone relatively should be on about the same level here. Some guys are only going to have one proper fresh set of tyres as Tomek Paragis gets his lap underway. He slides through turn number 1. That seems to be the fastest way around this track, really applying the anti-lock. And it is great to see. I like how guys can catch the cars. Last game it felt too understeery, and I really do like how the handling model has changed. It's a 28.470 for Tomek Paragis so far on this lap. He's looking decent as he continues on his way through the second sector uphill. Then it's going to take a sharp decline in towards turn number 9. Missed the apex on the inside and hook that up very nicely indeed, if I do say so myself. Open up the DRS down this straight. We'll check the speed as he heads towards turn number 11. He's going to be at about 190 miles per hour at the braking zone. Hook it up very nicely indeed, and then get back on the power. Be completely flat through turn number 12, and then into turn number 13. You want to get on the power as soon as possible off the exit of this corner, because if you don't, you'll kill your run down this straight in towards turn number 14, right before the start-finish straight where he's approaching the final braking zone along this circuit, just before the 50-meter board. Hook it up nicely on the inside, run it out wide. Not that wide, Tomek, as he's unfortunately invalidated that lap time, and we'll see what it would have been. 27.829 from him. That's an unlucky one from him.
Yeah, it's a shame for Tomek. He was really doing quite well, and but he'll have a good delta to go against, and it's not too bad to go again anyway. Later on, I think his Ferrari teammate is doing very well. He did on 28.272 in the first sector, so he is absolutely fine at this moment in time as Longue, and coming through to the middle sector to see what his middle sector split will be. And it's a 105.961, so it's not really purple at this moment in time, but it's not bad either. So Frenchman's got a bit of time to find in this last sector. Obviously, not too sure if it's on used or new sets of soft tyres, but coming up to the final corner now, what can Longue do? Can he really set the world alight with a good time? And he's really used the track limits there on the exit. Coming up to line now, it's a 127.599.
I think that's an alright time for a banker. Max Wiesel clearly has different ideas. That is quicker than what we saw in Q2. 1 minute 27.348. That leads me to believe he's using that fresh set of tyres that he saved from Q1 to get that lap in. And he is currently on top of the order. Otis Lawrence comes across the line with a 1 minute 27.6. And then Fabrizio Donoso comes across the line. He saved the tyres in Q2. 1 minute 27.336. Danny Moreno comes across the line with a 27.8, so that's not going to put him in any strong stead. Jake Benham comes across the line with a 27.7. We'll check in on how Jan Ortmeier is doing. Alvaro Caraton comes to the line. He's 2,000ths quicker than Fabrizio Donoso with a 1 minute 27.334. We got yellow flags at the end of sector 2. That is, I believe, Tomek Paragis just coming into the pit lane. Jan Ortmeier then will be the next one to come across the line. We'll see what he can do off the exit of the final corner. Very nice and tidy indeed. He didn't use it quite as much as Nicolas Longue did on his attempt, but it's still a very solid 1 minute 27.378 from him. Puts him on the second row of the grid for the time being. So with just over 5 minutes left to go, Alvaro Caraton on provisional pole position. Fabrizio Donoso in P2. Not a lot of people in the live chat said that he was a pole position contender. However, he's proven everyone wrong here.
Yeah, it's really surprising to say the least, and that's a great effort from Alvaro Caraton so far. Obviously, this is only their first few runs, and obviously they'll have better tyres in this next few runs. So obviously, to me, it's quite obvious who is on the new tyres and who is on the older tyres. Obviously, Longue had to use an extra set in Q2 due to unfortunately invalidating on his penultimate run in that session. So yeah, Longue's got a lot of work to do. if he's going to try and steal pole position, because that's a really good lap from Alvaro Carreton. But I still think there's around maybe a tenth and a half in this. We saw 0.1s in PSL, so maybe we could see something similar here tonight here in WR.
Yep, absolutely. As everyone coming back into the pit lane, fitting on a fresh set of the tyres, and they'll be going for their final attempt. Some guys only going to get one crack at the whip to set their pole position time. Everyone else who has saved the tyres is going to be able to have another attempt here, and that is sort of the advantage of saving the tyres throughout the session, not burning them up too quickly, because when you get to Q3 and there's only 12 minutes on the clock, you're really only going to have enough time at the end of the session for one. You're going to have one set. I'm losing my words here. You're only going to have one fresh set of the tyres in that final session, and obviously you want to use them when the track is at its best. And so for the beginning part of the session, you really are on the back foot, because everyone else around you who's been able to save the tyres going to be putting in laps, getting used to the Q3 conditions. You're going to be lagging behind. So I think the likes of Carreton, Donoso, Wiesel and Uppbeat inherently are going to have that advantage with just over 3 minutes left to go.
Yeah, exactly, and it's going to be quite interesting as well to keep a close eye on Tomek and Flores as well. Those two haven't set a lap time, and you never know, they might be able to set one right at the death and really surprise a few people, because Flores has had some good qualifyings so far on this game, especially in some social races. So he's showing some good signs of pace, and both the Ferraris, the first two out on track, obviously wanting to get some fresh air and make sure that they really don't get put off by any drivers around them.
I remember when these two were teammates, I think, in Alfa Romeo together. They were always this was in WR, I think season 12 maybe. They would always be the first drivers out on circuit. It seems like we are keeping two traditions here. So as everyone comes out for their out laps, I want to pose the question to everyone in the live chat. What do you think the pole time is going to be? Currently, Alvaro Carreton sitting on a 1 minute 27.334. How much are people going to be able to improve on that one? Ryan, where do you think they're going to go?
Oh, it's a tough question, but this grid is so special and so talented, and I think pole will be a 27.1. I think somebody will do that. If we see a 27.0, it'll be a very special lap. There'll be hardly any mistakes on it, and it'll be really hooked up, and they would have mastered the drifting. So yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think Longe might be able to do it, and I think Jarno, but anybody on this grid, you're seeing 27.3s so early on in this session. I think, the guys who have already done a 0.3, keep a close eye on them, because I think we could see a few 0.1s from these guys.
Yeah, and I think that is the general consensus in the live chat. I'm seeing a lot of 27.1s, a few 27.2s. No one's really opting for the 27.0, so no one's really got the faith that these guys can improve that much, and I think it's definitely a reach to see a 1 minute 27.0. I myself am going to go with a high 0.1. I think that's what the pole time is going to be, and I'll say Otis Lawrence has definitely got a chance to be there. Alvaro Carreton, Jarno Uppbeat, they're going to be the main candidates. However, Nicolas Longe, I also do think, has a very solid chance, as he is now beginning his final run in qualifying, heading down in towards the first corner. We'll see what his speed is as he approaches the first braking zone at 202 miles per hour. Heavy braking through there, sliding the car through the first corner, getting all the rotation possible as he carries the speed through turn number 2, riding the curbs through turn number 3, and then getting back onto the power and opening up the DRS, headed down towards turn number 4. Very committed so far from Nicolas Longe. He's not put a step wrong so far, and unfortunately I've just jinxed him there. Nicolas Longe invalid with 20 seconds left to go. That is his qualifying put to an end. He will not be able to set another lap time, and at best he'll be starting 5th.
Yeah, that was a real shame there for him, and he was absolutely flying. He was up by a 10th through the first sector alone, and he was really starting to fly. And Otis Lawrence, keep a close eye on him. He's going purple. He's gone purple through the first sector. So could the young Englishman or the Welshman, sorry, be on for a really good lap time here through this downhill left? This is where a lot of time can be gained, and he's absolutely nailed that, and he's got a really good exit. The rotation off that car was absolutely spot on through the exit of turn 10, and now this is where he made the mistake last time in Q2 into turn 11. This is where he will want to make up for that mistake, and he's absolutely nailed that once again. This has been a really good effort from Otis Lawrence. There's a Red Bull who has spun around there. I think that is Flores Wires, and it is. It's 2.5 attempts up here for Otis Lawrence. It might not be enough for pole position, but maybe with a good final corner coming up into turn 14, he might be able to steal it away. Tomek goes quickest with a 127.234. That was a really good lap there from Tomek. Not quite a point what we're after, but it's a very quick lap time coming up to line now. What can Otis do? It's only a 0.286.
It's not enough from Otis Lawrence so far. We've got a few guys in the final few corners, Jan Ortmir being one of them. I saw Alvaro Carreton has invalidated on his attempt. Fabrizio Donoso puts himself on the front row. Here comes Jan Ortmir up towards the line. Can he go to the top of the order? Indeed he can, with a 1 minute 27.205 from him. Alvaro Carreton won't be able to put a time on the board. Jake Benham is up next, but he is also invalidated, and we did not get that 0.1, but we do get the Flying Dutchman, Jan Ortmir, sitting on pole position for the season opener. He is on pole position here. His teammate down in 9th. What an end to qualifying. Look at how close this grid is. Just under 300ths of a second separating the Mercedes and the Ferrari. Tomek Paragic starting on that front row. The live chat is going absolutely crazy. Jan Ortmir, the fan favourite himself, on pole position.
Yeah, the chat has gone absolutely crazy, and it's a great lap from Jarno. Not quite the 0.1, but he was so close to pulling it off. A 2:05. That's a really quick lap time. And Tomek, I told you to keep a close eye on him on that final run, and he did deliver up into P2, and that's a really good position for the Polish driver. But yeah, a few drivers I think he'll be very frustrated with themselves. Will be Nicolas Longo, Danny Moreno.
Yep, absolutely, and I could have sworn as soon as that session ended and Jana was on pole position, we jumped about 100 viewers in the live chat. We've got almost 1,500. Thank you everyone for tuning in. The race is about to get underway. This time we've got formation lap. We didn't get to do it at all in the last game. But yeah, we're going to get to see all of those guys and assess what strategies they're going to be picking. And you're absolutely right, by the way, about Nicolas Longo being disappointed with his time. 1 minute 27.5 is not what he was expecting. He looked so good in the first part of that lap through the first corners, and he just unfortunately made that mistake, went too wide off the exit of turn number 4, invalidated his run. But we know he's got the pace, and I wonder if he's going to be able to take the fight still today.
Yeah, he definitely will be able to. You know, he's so quick in the races, and you know, strategy will be crucial around here. Ferrari, you know, the Qatar social race that they did, they went for something different. They went on the mediums at the start and went on and finished on the hards. So maybe we could see something similar around here. I doubt that. You know, after PSGO, obviously these drivers know what to expect in terms of the perfect strategy. Hard soft, hard medium will obviously be the strategy, but it depends obviously how late some of these guys will pit, because the tyre drop off is quite significant around here. So maybe tyre management is going to be such a crucial factor for some of these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. As the formation lap has just underway, we'll tune in with them as they get on their runs. We'll tune in with them after a quick word from our sponsors at GridFinder. And welcome back everyone, trackside here as the formation lap continues. See what the tyres are looking like, what strategy everyone is opting to go for, and I'll get the detail up on your screen now. Seems like mostly everyone's opting for the hard compound tyres, but Jan Ortmir, ever being the contrarian on the mediums, got Ulesh Zildrum, Ikabayana and Dylan Warren all on the softs, and I'm liking that there's a bit of variety here.
Yeah, same. I really was not expecting this from any of these drivers, to be honest, and I especially didn't expect from Jarno. Considering he's on pole, I thought he'd wanted to control the pace on the hard compounded tyres. He could have dictated what he wanted, being the lead man, but I think he wants to really be on the front foot around here, and he wants to try and break away from the field. Going on the medium tyres, he might try and go as long as he possibly can on these mediums, or he might decide to just really do qualifying lap after qualifying lap and really just burn these tyres out, pit early on the hard compounded tyres, and really try and make it to the end from there. And this strategy could work depending on a multiple of factors, maybe down to safety cars as well. That's what he'll be praying for, that there isn't really any of those, but he might be praying for one early on, which would really help his strategy. But it's interesting to see 3 drivers on the soft compounded tyres. That's something I really did not expect.
Yeah, we'll have to watch out for the starts of Zildjian, Boehner and Warren as we come to the end of the formation lap. I'm going to pose the question to everyone in the live chat as well. Who is going to win this race? Who is going to be on that podium, Ryan?
I think, it's gonna be such a tough question, but I feel Jarno will win this one, but it all depends on how his setup, his strategy does go. And I think Otis Lawrence will get onto the podium in second, and I'm going to go with a really bold prediction. I think Longue will join him in third.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see as the last few drivers are coming into their grid spot as it all falls silent along the circuit. However, we're just moments away from getting season 15 started. Here we are now, 5 red lights here in Bahrain. And we are green for the first time in season 15. It looks to be a strong start from Jan Ortmir, immediately covering off Tomek Peregis as they head down in towards turn number 1. Tomek looking towards the outside and they're 3 wide, further back 5 wide in the midfield there. A little bit of contact between a Haas and a Red Bull. That is Ruben Pedreño going slowly, but at the front of the order, Jan Ortmir leading the way from Tomek Peregis. Yellow flags. Dylan Warren's gone around on his set of the soft compounded tyres. Danny Moreno trying to defend from Jake Benham on the inside of turn number 4. At the end of the first sector though, Jan Ortmir continues his run from Peregis. Donoso in third, 4th Otis Lawrence, and then Alvaro Caraton running in 5th as expected. Zildjian and Boehner, they've got off to a fantastic start, already up in towards 10th and 11th, but Dylan Warren really unfortunate there. He's gone around early.
Yeah, it's a really good fight here for P13 at the minute. Ruben Pedreño trying to go down the inside of P3 statue like that was never going to work. Jake Benham really is having a bit of a mare at the minute. Julius Zildjian getting through. The Mercedes driver down into P10 now. But my oh my, it's really kicking off in the back of this field. Ruben Pedreño was going for an audacious move down into P8, into turn 8, sorry. But unfortunately, he was not going to be able to make that move stick. But Jan Ortmir, he's done what he's needed to do. He's covered up Tomek Peregis, and now he's really got to push hard. They're both using a lot of the battery early on. This is exactly the strategy which Jarno was looking to do.
Yeah, and he's pulling that gap to Tomek in behind as Ulash Zildjian making the most of those soft compounded tyres. He gets by on Danny Moreno. Ikabayana looking to follow through. You can see Danny Moreno, he continues to weave, trying to get more and more heat into this set of the hard compounded tyres. It's going to take a few laps for them to really get up to temperatures. Now Ikabayana slips through 4P8, 4P9, could be going 4P8 as he looks for a move on Ulash Zildjian. There's an Alpine further back behind of Luke Smith, going a bit wide. I think he's defending from Shanika Clay. Lots of battling throughout the pack as they continue along this one on lap number 2 of 29. It's still a very long race here. Jan Ortmir's done his job. He's got that 1 second window that he needs to deny Tomek Peregis of getting that DRS once that gets enabled on lap number 3. And surely if Tomek can't get within that 1 second window, he's going to be very vulnerable to Fabrizio Donoso behind him.
Yeah, they've got to work together as Tomek and Fabrizio, because it's essential that they do not lose DRS to Jarno, because otherwise he is in the perfect position for his race. This is exactly what Jarno Ortmir needed to do for his strategy to work, and he's delivering on that. On lap 2, he's pulled the gap to 1.3 seconds. This has been a really good performance so far from Jan Ortmir. Very, very early days, remember, ladies and gentlemen. So don't get ahead of yourselves just yet. We've got a long way to go, but so far it is going very, very well for the Dutchman.
Yep, absolutely, as Ulash Zildjian and Ikabayana continue their charge. They've seemingly hit a brick wall, and that brick wall is named Nicolas Longue. They can't quite get by on the Frenchman in that Ferrari. We know he's got the pace around this circuit. DRS now going to be enabled. They'll get their first taste of it, I believe, down in towards turn number 4 as here comes now Ulash Zildjian on the back of Nicolas Longue. Longue defending to the inside line. He might actually be going for the move on Max Wiesel up ahead as now he's in a Haas sandwich, trying to find the opportunity on the German driver. All right on board with the Frenchman as now DRS is enabled. He's trying to get closer to the rear of the Haas, but he might have to look in his mirrors because Zildjian's having a half look towards the inside line. Further back behind, Jake Benham trying to find a move on Danny Moreno. Moreno has steadily been slipping back in the pack, as has Jake Benham. Benham so far in this race. They're looking to recover this one so far, but on lap number 3, with all of that teasing sort of going on there, no moves have been made.
Yeah, Longo's doing a very good job. I thought he was going to go right into the back though, off the Haas, but Shanaka Clay and Luke Smith are going side by side, and that's an unbelievable move from Shanaka Clay to go around the outside there off Luke Smith. That was unbelievable there from Shanaka Clay, one of the most experienced drivers on the grid, using all their experience to pull up a sensational move around the outside into turn 10.
Oh, it was incredible from Shanaka Clay there, really showing that experience beats youth as he gets ahead of Luke Smith around the outside of turn number 10. We saw Fernando Alonso in Bahrain go up the inside of Lewis Hamilton, and I thought even that was a crazy move. I didn't expect it around the outside. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, Tomek Paragas has dropped a load of time to Jan Ortme. He's now 1.8 seconds to the rear of the Dutchman. Fabrizio Donoso's had enough. He's looking to the inside line as they head towards turn number 1, and Donoso gets into P2 at the minute, and now is his chance to track down Jan Ortme as this race progresses. Tomek Paragas now potentially going to be vulnerable to Otis Lawrence in behind, who has had a very strong start in this race. I'll quickly bring up the position gained. You can see the biggest movers in this one, Azildrim and Boehner on their soft compound tyres. That is, of course, to be expected. The biggest losers in this one, Flores Vyers, Danny Moreno, Jake Benham and Luke Smith, they've all lost 2 positions. Same goes for Ruben Pedreño, but for the most part in this race, Ryan, it's been relatively tame.
Yeah, Flores Wyers though, as soon as you mentioned that, goes down side into turn 8. What a move that is from Flores Wyers. Luke Smith, I've just been on board with him for this last few laps. He's really been struggling for whatever reason, I'm not too sure. And Flores Wyers is going to do the exact same move as Shanaka Clay did around the outside. That was breathtaking stuff from Flores. He absolutely lined up Luke Smith and he took his opportunity. That was unbelievable stuff there from Flores Wyers.
Yeah, Luke Smith just steadily slipping down the order. He's now got Chanakinchi on his rear, Nemesis Prime as he's going by this evening. He's now on the back of Luke Smith, who gets a bad run through turn number 12. He's going to miss the apex completely on the inside of turn number 13. ERS enabled for Chanakinchi as they head down in towards turn number 14. Luke Smith losing touch with Flores Vyers up ahead of him. Chanakinchi not going to go for the move this time by. He's going to have to look in his mirrors for Ruben Pedreño is now off the exit of the final corner. They go. We going to see any moves at this point? Seems like Chanakinchi wants to get by on Luke Smith. Luke Smith defending to the inside line. Chanakinchi is going to have to go the long way around. He's going to be boxed in ever so slightly from the Red Bull of Flores Vyers in front of him with the inside line now for turn number 2. Can Chanakinchi find this move and get ahead of Luke Smith? So close to contact between the pair of them, and Ruben Pedreño's looking to slot into this fight. They're 3 wide heading down in towards turn number 4. Pedreño's on the inside, Smith in the middle. Oh, contact! Luke Smith's round. Oh, more as Piotr Stahalek has been hit in that fray as well. High drama on lap number 5, and it is unfortunately at the expense of Luke Smith and Piotr Stahalek. They come to blows after a 3 wide incident gone wrong, and the VSC has been deployed.
Yeah, that was the most chaos I've ever seen right there, and Luke Smith was not giving that up without a fight, and you know, 3 into 1 never really goes, and yeah, that was a prime example of that, and I feel so bad there for Piotr Stahalek, who had nowhere to go. I unfortunately experienced something similar to that in the social race at Qatar. Sometimes you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time and there's nothing you can do about it, but that is a real shame there for Piotr Stahalek, who was trying to do his best after a disappointing qualifying.
And I really don't think you can pin that on anyone there. I think that is just something that happens when you go 3 wide. They're entitled to go for these opportunities, and I don't blame Ruben Pedreño for going for that highlight reel move of a 3 wide, a double overtake up the inside. And unfortunately, it's just not worked out. There's no communication between these guys. They can't work out who's going where. And unfortunately, Luke Smith caught in the middle of that all, and then Piotr Stahalek, as you said, had nowhere to go. Really unfortunate. As the VSC continues on, we've got some guys coming into the pit stop. It is the perfect opportunity for Ulas Zildrim and Ikabayana. They're going to save a little bit of time with the VSC being deployed as they come into the box. And look at what we're seeing down at turn number 1. Tomek Paragas going side by side with Otis Lawrence, and off the exit, Alvaro Caraton is looking for the move. We've just seen this a lap ago. It didn't end well. It ended in tears for 2 drivers. However, this time by, it has worked out absolutely perfectly, and it is Alvaro Caraton. He's gone for that move, and he's made up 2 positions in 1 corner.
Yeah, that was sensational stuff. I'm so surprised we did not see a car spinning around there. That was unbelievable. racecraft from every driver involved there, because that could have gone horribly wrong for all three. But that showed some great racecraft and great race awareness from every single one of them to not involved in some kind of incident. But that was unbelievable stuff from Alvaro Carreton to move up into P3. That'll put a right big smile on the face of Brett Kosher. I know he'll be watching this one.
Yeah, Brett Kosh, I saw him in the live chat, I think, earlier, and certainly he is going to be pleased with how his drivers are performing. Shanaka Clay has made up a few spots in this race so far. Alvaro Carreton as well, he's had a fantastic launch in this one. Williams are looking very competitive, but I don't think Carreton is done there. He's on the back of Fabrizio Donoso. Donoso is not going to have any DRS on Jan Altmaier in front of him, who's lost a bit of time in the VSC period. He's now 1.5 seconds ahead of Donoso. Still a healthy enough margin for the Dutchman to maintain this lead, but Alvaro Carreton is going to make that move in towards turn number 1. Back behind, a few more moves being made. Some guys looking up the inside. We'll watch Max Wiesel, see if he is up to anything at the moment. He's on the back of on the back of Tomek Parag. He's got Nicolas Longue drifting a little bit further back behind. I think they've really solidified themselves in this race so far, and this fight for P2 is looking very tasty.
It really is, and Alvaro Carreton has now got back within the DRS of Jarno Opmeer. So this is absolutely huge for this race now, because this has really invited the hard runners to really start to apply the pressure on Jarno. And I wonder now, what will he be thinking in terms of the strategy? Because now the hard tyres seeming to be a lot quicker than the mediums. So could this force Jarno's hand early, knowing that the hard compounded tyres are onto the back of him now, and they are going to start to close up, because Alvaro Carreton has done a very, very good job. But I might say Jarno has done a very good job of recouping his ERS over these last few laps. He's up to around 71%, while Alvaro Carreton's down to around 48. So he's got a little bit of advantage over him, but the tyre advantage is now in the court of the hard runners.
Yep, Alvaro Carreton, he set a purple Sector 1 trying to catch up to Jan Altmaier there, and I think that's why he's a little bit lower on the ERS count. However, it has worked out an absolute treat for him, because now he's 5/10 to the rear of Jarno Opmeer, and these medium tyres are certainly going to be quicker than the hards at this point in the race as they head on towards lap number 8. This is when we're going to start to see the transition into night time, so I do apologise in advance for the cars looking a little bit hazy once we get into the nighttime period, as Rune Pedreño gets by on his teammate for P11. He's ahead of Flores Frias, trying to find his way into the top 10 fight. We've got one big DRS train stemming from first all the way down into 10th, and it is incredible to see. However, though, it does mean that we're not really going to be seeing too many battles, because once you're in the DRS train, the effects of it are essentially nullified. No one's going to be benefiting from the DRS aside from Alvaro Carreton, and I think, Ryan, if he wanted to go for that move, he'd have gone for it in turn number 1. So he's made his intentions clear. He wants Jarno to lead this race, and he wants to recharge his battery in behind him.
Yeah, what I noticed though was the straight line speed of that Williams compared to the Aston Martin. It seems to be, to me anyways, it looks like the Aston Martin certainly has been run at higher downforce, while Alvaro Carreton in the Williams has definitely got the better straight line speed, because he absolutely pulls away from Fabrizio Donoso on the straights. I wonder if that is down to the setups, or maybe he's using a little bit more battery potentially, but it seems to me Alvaro Carreton has got a very, very quick car in a straight line. He seemed to be right onto the back of Jan Altmaier, and I don't think he'll even need to use ERS here, by the way, to get past Jan Altmaier. He's 3/10 behind. He gained that around on the last lap by just being behind him, and he did not use any ERS. So let's keep a close eye on this, because Alvaro Carreton might just take the lead here on lap number 9.
Yep, DRS wide open for Carreton. As you said, he's not using the battery, but he is gaining on Jan Altmaier towards turn number 1. He could go for the dive bomb move. However, he does stay behind. He wants Jan Altmaier to lead this race. Let's have a check in on the ERS situations. Jan Altmaier's got 75%, Alvaro Carreton with 63%, so the advantage is in the court of Jan Altmaier ever so slightly. However, as this race progresses and they begin to use the battery more and more, it is gonna balance out towards the end of this Grand Prix. Donoso looking very competitive on the rear of Carreton. He was overtaken a few laps ago, but he has certainly not dropped off the pace whatsoever, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is the man to benefit from a potential scuffle between Altmaier and Carreton. I'm just wondering though at this point, when is Jarno going to start thinking about this pit stop? We're on lap number 9 of 29, so at the end of this one he's going to have 20 laps left to go. I don't know when he's going to think about the pit stop. Maybe in the next 4 or 5 laps?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Luke Smith set the fastest lap on the soft tyres, obviously, after that spin. But yeah, it's interesting, and it's a good question because you wonder how long Jarno can keep this pace. He's not doing too bad, but you can just tell the hard runners are so much more comfortable for every single corner, and they're just out-tractioning him near enough on every single corner now. So Alvaro, in my opinion, has got to get a move on. He's got around 70% of the battery now, so he's done a very good job of recouping. I think now this surely should be the lap where Alvaro does decide, but again, it's interesting to say the least. It does look like he is going for it this time. Yes, he does. The Williams goes to the inside line. Should be an easy pass, and Jarno does not put up any bit of a fight. But now this is where it will get interesting, because Alvaro will now try to use and possibly try and drop Jarno up there and drop Fabrizio Donoso.
Yep, Jarno Uppbeat does get DRS on Alvaro Carreton to defend with from Fabrizio Donoso in behind as they approach turn number 4. Certainly it is going to be difficult for Jarno Uppbeat to keep up with Alvaro Carreton at this point. That's going to create a sense of urgency for these other guys in behind, like Donoso, Lawrence and Paranchis. They don't want to lose time to Alvaro Carreton at this point, so they've got to get a move on and try and clear Jarno Uppbeat whilst they still can, because once Jarno Uppbeat comes into the pit lane, they're going to have lost out quite a lot here. So we'll see what happens on lap number 10. Alvaro Carreton ever so slightly stretching that advantage ahead of Uppbeat in P2. Donoso in third. It seems like everyone's relatively calmed down at this point in the race. We saw a few laps ago there was that 3 wide scrap which Alvaro Carreton took advantage of, and I'd say he is definitely the man to beat in this race at this point. We'll have another check-in on the detailing of who's made up the most places. Alvaro Carreton started in 5th, he's now in 1st, and he is taking he's taking this race with a firm grip.
Yeah, Jarno's doing a very good job. I thought he would have struggled a little bit more through the middle sector, but he's done a very, very good job of keeping with Alvaro so far. He's in a little bit of the battery. I think Donoso is going to start to put Jarno under a little bit of pressure now, but you can tell the lap times have significantly dropped. The pace has definitely been reduced. Luke Smith has spun through the first sector, so that's a shame for him. But anyways, back to the front, and there is a bit of a move now. Force Wires going getting past Ruben Virginia. They are trying to work together to get back up to the train. But at this moment in time, nobody really making some moves. And I think, again, your question about when will Jarno Uppbeat pit, I'm so unsure, because it should be in the next few laps. But again, Jarno is saving his tyres, and he's doing a really good job of that. And, nursing them very, very well, but also keeping with Alvaro Carreton's very quick pace so far.
Yeah, and I think following in the wheel tracks of Alvaro Carreton is definitely going to benefit Jarno Uppbeat's tyres. He's not going to be leading from the front, and he's going to be able to conserve some of these resources by allowing Alvaro Carreton to sort of punch a hole in the air in front of him and lead. So Jarno Uppbeat definitely very smart, letting Alvaro Carreton make that move stick. He didn't really fight it all that much because he's thinking about the bigger picture. He could be leading on lap number 11, but that's going to mean nothing on lap number 29 when his tyres are completely dead. Everyone else is on fresher mediums. Luke Smith, our first retirement of this race, unfortunately, after his spin in the first sector. He comes into the pit lane and he has retired, and that is unfortunate to see. Luke Smith really just, it's so unlucky for him to be involved in that incident. Caught in the middle of 2 drivers, really just squeezed there and then hit for good measure by Piotr Stahelek. He is now out of this race.
Yeah, it's a bit of a move, by the way. There was going to be a move, but Otis Lawrence had to back out of it due to the yellow flags. And I'm not too sure. Jarno Uppbeat again, who got really, really close. And there's a move. Otis Lawrence has gone down the inside out. And no, I think Fabrizio Donoso has disconnected from this race. And that is such a shame for him, because he was absolutely flying. And that's a real shame for Fabrizio Donoso.
Yeah, Donoso's also been tagged there by Otis Lawrence, so his AI is now going to be a long way down the order. These esports drivers can well outmatch the pace of whatever AI has been set here. So Flores Vires and Ruben Virginia, they're going to have no problems getting on by him. Really unfortunate for Donoso, and he was running such a good race in this one. Yellow flags once again. Donoso is not having a good time, but his AI is doing something along here. I wonder if this actually is him, or if it's his AI, because he isn't actually ghosting on my screen, but I'm not too sure what's going on. Nevertheless, he is out of this race. He's out of contention for any podium at all. So now we've got 9 cars in this lead train. It is now the running order of Alvaro Carreton in P1 and Jarno Uppbeat in P2. That remains unchanged Otis Lawrence now in third, Tomek Parajic in fourth, and Max Wiesel running a very quiet but strong race in P5. He's one of the only drivers that isn't a part of the F1 Esports scene on this grid. He's not in esports at the moment, but he is certainly showing a very strong run here as you've got some runners coming into the pit lane. Neither of them are Jan Ottmar. Speaking of Ottmar, he goes for the move and he takes P1 ahead of Alvaro Carreton.
Yeah, I think this could be the lap where Jarno does decide to pit. He is obviously going to push now, and yes he is, so he's going to use all his battery. This is going to be a qualifying lap almost for Jarno Ottmar. He is going to push quite hard, and if he does not come into the pits, I will be surprised, because usually when you do decide to drain the battery, it does usually mean that you do come into the pits. But yeah, I think it was desync, by the way, for Fabrizio Donoso. I think he's back in the lobby, but unfortunately for him, he might have just temporarily disconnected, but I'm not too sure. Again, it seems a bit of an odd one, unfortunately, for Donoso, but hopefully he can explain to us what happened after the race.
Yeah, really unlucky that desync is still, unfortunately, an issue in the F1 games, and it's just punishing drivers for no real reason, because these guys have run what I think is a flawless race so far. No one's really put a foot wrong so far. No penalties in the front of the pack either, and it is just so unfortunate to see that is how it has worked out for him. Thinking about the pit stops now, we've seen Tomek Parajic, Danny Moreno and Rune Pedreño all come into the pit lane on the most recent lap. Jan Ottmar, Alvaro Carreton, Otis Lawrence, they're going to have no problems coming to the pits. However, Jake Benham and Shanaka Clay, they're going to have to go at least one more run, unfortunately, for them, because, of course, the tyres are... they're not going to want to double stack with their teammate. It's not possible in this game. Carreton decides to stay out, as does Nicholas Longue and Jake Benham and Shanaka Clay, the top four, all remaining out on circuit. Lawrence, Wiesel, Ottmar, Vyers all coming into the pit lane. We'll see where they phase out into this Grand Prix, and I believe the net race leader, Ulash Zildjian.
Yeah, this is incredible stuff, and Jonas is doing he's done an unbelievable job with that soft to hard strategy. Also, Biena has done a great job, and Tomek Parajic has now jumped, and here we go, the former teammates now, Danny Moreno and Jan Ottmar side by side. These two have a lot of history, obviously racing together, formerly for Mercedes, and now obviously Danny Moreno driving for McLaren. But this is going to be really interesting now for Jarno. He's on the worst tyres at this stage in the race. How is he going to be able to cope now with the medium runners who are going to be much, much quicker?
Yep, just giving a quick reminder to everyone of the tyre situation at the minute. The top six all haven't pitted in this one. Ulash Zildjian and Ika Biena, who started on a set of the soft compound tyres, they pitted a lot earlier, got the undercut on everyone else, and they are now the net race leaders. Tomek Parajic, Danny Moreno, the likes of them are all on the mediums, and Jan Ottmar has fitted on a set of the hards. He's not going to have as much pace at the minute. It's all about damage limitation for the time being, keeping ahead of the runners around him and trying to defend from them without giving up too much time to the cars in front. He's got a big task on his hand at the minute. This is certainly going to be as hard as it gets for the Dutchman, who was leading this race, the pole sitter, going for that alternate strategy. It's high risk, high reward from him, as got more pit stops. That is Nicholas Longue coming into the box.
Yeah, and I think as well as that, Jarno, I don't think was expecting everybody on the mediums to pit so early, because obviously what he did, he stayed out really late and had really good mediums towards the end, and now we've got a real good battle here. It's going to be possibly 3 wide into turn 1. Here comes Jan Ottmar. He could get all 3 of them. To the inside he goes. It's going to be 3 wide, possibly into turn 1. Jan Ottmar goes down the inside. There's a bit of contact. I can't really see what is going on, but my oh my, Danny Moreno gets through it. Otis Lawrence around the outside of Tomek Parajic. That was an incredible move there from Otis Lawrence to get around the outside of Tomek there, but my oh my, again, incredible racing from everybody involved.
Yeah, I just love how the racecraft has improved. All of these guys know where to position their cars so as to not impede the other drivers too much. There's no one really crashing at the minute. We've only seen just a few minor bits of contact in these fights at the front of the order, and it has just worked out beautifully. We are having a fantastic season opener, and I think 2,100 people agreeing. Thank you everyone for tuning in so far in this race. If you like what you're seeing and you want to keep on watching WOR as this season progresses, you can hit that big red subscribe button beneath the stream and give a like to it as well. That'd be much appreciated, because we are here giving you this action on a Sunday evening, and what a race it has been so far. Danny Moreno now trying to get onto the rear of Ulash Azildrim. He is that is for the net lead. Alvaro Caraton, that is a big blow to his race, speeding in the pit lane. He's got a 5-second time penalty. Unless he can get that one removed, that is going to be game over, I'd say, for Caraton.
Yeah, that's such a rookie mistake from such an experienced driver. He'll be kicking himself. Braking so late, he was trying to gain as much time as possible, and he'll be a little bit frustrated with that one. Again, we got a bit of action going on. Jan Otmé again has followed Danny Moreno through. Illness Adildrum is getting under, and here we go. Otis Lawrence down the inside. Illness has lost 3 places in the space of a straight. That was unbelievable stuff from all 3 involved again. Everybody is following Danny Moreno through. Danny Moreno is leading this charge on these medium tyres, and Jan Otmé and Otis Lawrence are just followed him every single time he makes a move. Incredible.
Jan Otmé definitely going to be very thankful that Danny Moreno is here to do the brute force work. Otmé can just slide on through, not take too much out of these tyres, and you know, whilst all these guys are scrapping around him, he is going to be improving every single lap in terms of pace, where the gap between the mediums and the hards is going to be coming down every single time. So it's looking really good for Jan Otmé's race at the minute, because we're only just past the halfway point in this Grand Prix. There's still a number of laps, 15 laps to go in this Grand Prix, as Alvaro Caraton gets by on Ikabayane. He's got that 5-second penalty to his name. I do know that on the last game, sometimes if you are right on the limit, you know, it would give you a penalty, but you can send that in, potentially get that one removed. If that's not the case for Alvaro Caraton, there's no way he's getting out of that penalty, so it's not looking good for Williams at the minute. Meanwhile, Jan Otmé on the back of Danny Moreno. Will he want to go for this move? Shanika Clay has come into the pit lane. Jake Benham has stayed out once again, and we'll see where he files out in this fight, as now here they come down the main straight once again. Jan Otmé looking to the inside of Danny Moreno. Will he go for this move up the inside? Indeed he will. He'll say, thank you for letting me get to this point, but it is my time to shine. He gets by, and he's up into P4, and that is the net race lead achieved once again for Jan Otmé.
Yeah, Nicholas Longe gets past Max Whistle as well. Ruben Virginia now obviously getting past Fabrizio Zanoso, who's obviously not driving after you saw about 4 cars go straight through him. But interesting point to mention, Jake Benham is still yet to pit, by the way. I think he is going for the strategy which Giano did in PSGL. He's obviously going to stay out as long as he possibly can, around to probably lap 19. He'll then pit for the medium tyres, and he'll be very, very quick. So keep a close eye on Jake Benham towards the end of this race, all depending on what lap he decides to pit. But Alvaro Caraton as well. Fortunate for him, he was on for a very good performance here, and you know, that 5-second penalty has unfortunately ruined any chances of a good race. But keep a close eye out on as well Nicholas Longe, who's in P7 at the minute, but he's got really fresh medium tyres.
Yep, absolutely. There's still plenty of questions up in the air as to who wins this race. I'm not too sure which way it is gonna swing, but I just know that this has been a fantastic season opener, as Alvaro Caraton gets by on Ulash Azildrim. That is P10 now for the Spaniard. He is outside the DRS range, unfortunately, of Max Vital. He won't get that benefit headed down in towards turn number 1. However, with the state of the tyres that Ulash Azildrim has, I don't believe that that is going to be too much of an issue for him, as now Nicholas Longe sets the fastest lap of the race in behind his teammate Tomek Paragic. Danny Moreno getting close to the back of Jan Otmé once again as they head down through turn number 1 and 2. Doesn't quite go for the move this time by. And I've got to say, Ryan, Danny Moreno has been a fantastic surprise in this one. He really did struggle in Q2, only just about made his way into Q3, but now he's fighting for P1, you know, the net P1, and he could be the winner of this race when all things are said and done.
Yeah, he's doing an unbelievable job. Obviously, he went for the undercut, and it's been extremely beneficial for him. But he's got to be really careful now of the likes of Longe coming through. Alvaro Caraton, Max Whistle, everybody who's basically got fresher tyres than him, he's got to be a bit careful of. And he's really got to try and nurse these medium tyres towards the end now. And there we go, Andrei Tarabukin going off wide, and that's going to be a bit off-putting for Jan Otmé, who has not got the DRS. But he will get it on the main straight, so I think Tarabukin will definitely be coming into the pits, because his tyres are definitely at the end of their life, and you can tell, oh my god, it's a massive snap. He nearly ended up into the wall like he did in qualifying, and there he goes. He decides to pull out of the way. Smart decision there from Tarabukin, because that could have really hampered people's races, but I think that did affect Jarno Otmé, because he's lost a bit of time to Danny Moreno through that middle sector. But Anyways, it's been very, very intense in these last few laps, and Jake Benham does pit now on at the end of lap 18.
Yeah, finally, Jake Benham's into the pit lane, as is Fabrizio Donoso. That will unleash Jan Ortmir as the leader of this race, but for how much longer? Because here comes Danny Moreno headed down and towards turn number 1. He's going to make that move stick. Otis Lawrence as well, trying to find his way in the fight. The two McLaren going right by on the Mercedes. Jan Ortmir defenseless in towards turn number 1. Danny Moreno leads this race. Otis Lawrence gets by on Jan Ortmir, heading down now up towards turn number 4. Otis Lawrence is going to go for the lead, looking up the inside of his teammate for this evening. And Otis Lawrence leading the way in this Grand Prix. Jan Ortmir off the exit of turn number 4 has a fantastic run on Danny Moreno, his former teammate at Mercedes, but he can't quite find a gap in towards turn number 5. And on lap number 19, Otis Lawrence finds his way into the lead ahead of Danny Moreno, and Jan Ortmir unfortunately down 2 places, but he's still on that podium as Nicolas Longue trying to find a move on his teammate, headed down in towards turn number 10. He had a half think about it, but I think it was wise for him to back out, but the 2 Ferraris, don't count them out here.
Yeah, definitely not, and I'll be keeping a close eye on Jake Benham now towards the end of this race, because, you know, he's going to have to put in some sensational lap times if he wants to get any big points. You know, this is a big, big task on Jake Benham's hand. He's got such big gaps to close down. I don't think he'll be, unfortunately, in this race, but it's anybody's inside this top 7, really. Even top 8 to win this race, because look how close it is between everybody. Unfortunately, Alvaro Carreton really doesn't have a chance unless a miracle happened. But I think McLaren, I've got a strategy in mind. Otis Lawrence to lead the way, and Danny Moreno is going to be as wide as he possibly can to make sure Jan Ortmir can't get through.
Here comes Nicolas Longue on his teammate, headed down and towards turn number 1. There's moves being made further up ahead. Danny Moreno's looking up the inside of Otis Lawrence, headed down and towards turn number 1. There's no team orders at McLaren. Nicolas Longue gets through on Tomek Pereges, further back behind. Danny Moreno had a half think about going for the move. Otis Lawrence shut the door, slammed it in his face and said, "You're not getting through this time by." Jan Ortmir still watching in the wings as everyone fights around him. He's just sitting there pretty in 3rd position on his hard compound tyres, knowing that these mediums, the more that they fight, the more they're going to wear out, and the bigger the advantage he is going to have later on in this race. And now Alvaro Carreton goes up the inside of Tomek Pereges at a very unorthodox place. Turn number 8 down the inside of the hairpin, and he gets on by. He's into P5, and he's now in the wheel tracks of Nicolas Longue on lap number 20 of 29 with just about 10 laps left to go in this race. It is still white hot action here in Bahrain.
This is incredible stuff. I thought Longue was going to go into the back of Jan Ortmir into turn 4. He came so close to making contact with the Dutchman any later on the brakes, and Jan Ortmir was certainly going for a spin unless he had some incredible reactions to save the car. But my, it was quite interesting to say the least though. Danny Moreno and Otis Lawrence are 100% working together. Danny Moreno had the perfect opportunity to go down the inside, but they formed the wall, as I like to call it, and they went side by side into turn 1. They made sure no way that Jan Ortmir was getting through, but it seems to me Jan Ortmir is going to try and go on the attack once again, but you'll see the McLaren work together again. Look at it, they go side by side, and Jan Ortmir is going to go around the outside of both of them. This would be audacious if you're going to be able to pull this off. They make a little bit of contact. Otis Lawrence is going to hold it around the outside. They're still side by side, but my, there we go, the switch back again from Yano. He's going to have the inside line. Danny Moreno might need to come off, but Otis Lawrence has got the DRS. This is unbelievable teamwork here from the McLaren duo of Otis Lawrence and Danny Moreno.
Carreton spins. Nicolas Longue's gone into the back of him. Oh dear. High drama on lap number 21. Alvaro Carreton sent into a spin. He had to lift off for Jan Ortmir slowing in front of him. Nicolas Longue didn't react in time. Carreton tumbling down the order. His race goes from bad to worse, and I think that is the final nail in the coffin, unfortunately, from him. That leaves 6 cars in the fight for the lead of this race, as now there's a car further off back behind. I think that's a Red Bull of Room Pedreño trying to defend from Shanika Clay. Oh no, I feel so bad for Carreton because he was so strong in qualifying. It's all come undone for him in the race, and it's really just not gone the way of Williams in this Grand Prix. What was looking like a strong showing from the pair of them now leads them into 8th and 12th And I think Brett Koch, he's going to be fuming watching this race back. But meanwhile, Otis Lawrence still leading the way from Danny Moreno. Jarno Opmeer, I think he's going to be getting a little bit frustrated in behind the pair of these guys, as once again down in towards turn number 1. Will we see the wall that has been formed in the last few laps? Danny Moreno certainly closing to the rear of Otis Lawrence, and indeed the wall is made. Otis Lawrence defending on the outside line of Danny Moreno. Moreno's going to make the move, but in towards turn number 2, Jarno Opmeer has nowhere to go. He can't find the move. However, he's got a much better run than the pair of them, and he's going to look towards the outside line. They're 3 wide, heading in towards turn number 4. It's 2 McLarens and a Mercedes. Longe going deep on the brakes, almost going into the back of Jarno Opmeer, and somehow, some way, Danny Moreno holds on to this lead of the Grand Prix, and Otis Lawrence still remaining in P2. Jarno Opmeer stuck between a rock and a hard place because he's just mired in P3. Tomek Parajas now off the exit of turn number 8, could be trying to make a move on the Dutchman around the outside of turn number 10. Not quite this time by, and they still all remain exactly where they were.
This is unbelievable stuff. I think Jarno Opmeer regrets probably letting both McLarens through, but there was nothing he really could have done. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable defending from the McLarens. They have got it absolutely spot on. Every single time Jarno's trying to make some kind of move, there's one McLaren in the way to make sure Jarno cannot get through. No matter what he tries, there's always a McLaren somewhere to place their car to stop him from making any kind of move. He tried 2 switchbacks there, and unfortunately did not work. So he's going to have to try something bold and audacious, in my opinion, to get past both of these McLarens.
We'll see if it's, 4 times the charm, 4 laps in a row potentially for Jarno Opmeer to try and make this move stick. He's a lot further back than he was last time by. Otis Lawrence, I think, he's pushing a little bit, and he gets by on Danny Moreno. Moreno does not do anything to defend that position. Let's have a look at the ERS situation. Otis Lawrence 46%, Moreno 35, Jarno Opmeer 57, Tomek Parajas on 30, Longe 65. So it seems like Jarno Opmeer and Nicholas Longe, in terms of resource management, are much better off than the rest of these guys, and that could make the difference between them being able to send the move in towards the final few corners on the last few laps and not being able to do that whatsoever. So we've got to watch out for those guys as this race continues on. Janik Inchi with the fastest lap. Shanaka Clay goes up the inside of Nicholas Longe, who I think is now beginning to fall down the order a little bit, despite having fresher tyres than those around him. He's now down into 6th position, because where has Shanaka Clay come from? He was P8 just 2 laps ago, and now he's in the top 5, potentially in the fight for this win.
Yeah, I'll let you know about Shanaka Clay. He made contact into turn 8 with Nicholas Longe. He got a brilliant run through turn 5 and 6, and he got a brilliant exit out of turn 7, and that really gave him a slingshot opportunity to go down the inside. But Longe at the last, not the last second, but very late on, just before the braking zone, he moved, and Shanaka Clay, braking quite late, goes into the back of him. No wing damage, fortunately, for the Williams driver, but Longe won't be happy with that one.
Absolutely, as Nicholas Longe's definitely had a frustrating race after invalidating in qualifying. Danny Moreno's once again going to go up the inside of his teammate. They're just trading positions right at the front of the order, DRSing and slipstreaming off one another, and unfortunately it's at the expense of Jarno Opmeer, who just can't find an opportunity in this one, as Otis Lawrence once again on the back of Danny Moreno. He could have gone for that move if he wanted to, but he knows that there's no threat from Jarno Opmeer in behind at this point. Opmeer's just got to bide his time, because towards the end of this race, you know, these medium tyres, will have a look at the graphic now, 11 laps, 10 laps, you know, this was around about the point where Jarno Opmeer pitted on that set, and so these guys, they're going to start to see signs of tyre wear in this Grand Prix. It is worth noting, of course, that lighter on fuel later in the race means less wear, as Jake Benham's gone for the move.
Yeah, he's absolutely torpedoed into turn 9 and 10. He is absolutely sent it, and oh no, Jake has absolutely, unfortunately, messed that one up, and that is unfortunate. He's definitely got some kind of front wing damage, because he's gone into the side of Shanaka Clay, and that Shanaka Clay's race over, unfortunately for him, and Jake Benham is losing places. The chat was going absolutely crazy at Jake Benham. They'll be absolutely head in hands, because that's such a mistake from Jake Benham, which he could not afford to make, because now he was trying to make a move on Nicholas Longe, and he just completely overshot it there, and that's him now down, and most likely going to be out of the points.
So unfortunate for Jake Benham. He speeds into the pit lane, and he retires from this race. Meanwhile, Otis Lawrence once again gets by on Danny Moreno. Now, I think these guys, they've worked it out a lot more at the front. They don't want to be side by side through turn 2 and 3 because that means that Jan Ortmir is going to have the better run down in towards turn number 4. As it's really unlucky for Jake Benham, who's doing a surmountable job trying to get his way into that top 10. He had much fresher tyres than everyone else by a long way, and it's so sad that that is the way it's worked out for him. Alvaro Caraton on his recovery drive, he gets by on Ulash Zildrum, and he is looking at potentially scoring some points in this Grand Prix. Something happened to Shanaka Clay in all of that as well. I'm not too sure what's gone wrong with him. He's now down in 11th position. I was sort of distracted. I was getting handed some water because at this point, Ryan, my throat is absolutely going with how high drama and high tension this race has been. It's been a joy to commentate on.
It really has. I thought, you know, Bahrain would deliver with some drama, and has it not? Like, honestly, every lap there's been some kind of incident or some kind of audacious move from one or two drivers, and honestly, this has been one of the best races around Bahrain, I think, ever, in terms of drama and excitement. It's delivered on all fronts, but we've got to keep a close eye on Jan Ortmir now. He's been saving the battery these last few laps. He needs to go on the attack surely in these last few laps because he's running out of time. Going on to lap 26 now. It's coming to the end for Jan Ortmir, and he's running out of time to win this race.
Yep, Danny Moreno once again trading positions with Otis Lawrence as a yellow flag in Sector 2. I believe that is Dylan Warren going around. The AlphaTauris having a diabolical day, unfortunately. They're down in 17th and 18th position. It's not gone their way whatsoever. As down in towards turn number 4, once again they go. Danny Moreno leading from Otis Lawrence. Jan Ortmir just sitting there. He's biding his time at this point. He's got 81% in the battery. If he wanted to go for the move, I think he definitely could, because Danny Moreno's only got 51% in the battery, and Otis Lawrence got 68, so he's got that advantage in his court. I think it might be smart of him to just apply some pressure in the next few laps, force these guys to show their hand and, you know, use some of their resources up, and then on the attack on the last few runs, go for that move, take the lead and potentially the win of this race. We still can't count out Tomek Paragas and Nicholas Longuet, who seemingly stabilised in this race. We saw Longuet losing a number of positions a few laps ago, but he's found his way back into P5 after his mishap with Jake Benham. And Max Wiesel sitting in there in P6 as well. A few guys all behind. They don't really have a chance winning this race, unfortunately, given that they have got time penalties to their names. We'll have a quick check at the penalties situation. You can see that on the left of your screen now. So we'll tune in at the front of the order once again. Jan Ortmir will ride on board with the Dutchman. Can he make this move stick? He's using up the battery. Headed down in towards turn number 1. Danny Moreno going to be defenseless in towards the corner. He's got by one of the McLarens. He's going to look to go around the outside of the other. Otis Lawrence defending to the inside of Jan Ortmir in towards turn number 1. Danny Moreno sticking his nose in here, but it's not enough. His efforts have been thwarted. The wall has been pierced because now Jan Ortmir has got his way into P2 on lap number 27 and 29. Looks towards the outside line of turn number 4 on Otis Lawrence, who's defending that inside line with his life. Not quite enough for Jan Ortmir at the moment. However, he is now up into P2. Danny Moreno down into 3rd, and McLaren's plans potentially in tatters now.
Yeah, I thought this would be the lap where Jano would go for it, and he did. And this is really critical now. He's got to make sure that he is the second man, in my opinion, on just onto lap 28, because by the looks of things, that DRS is so powerful that even if you do have some of the battery left to play around with, you'll still be so vulnerable on the straight that even, you know, the cars behind will be able to breeze past you. Danny Moreno had no chance to defend from Jan Ortmir, and it seemed to me he's doing a very good job, though, the Spanish driver, of holding on to the Dutchman, because at the minute it's going to be very close. We're on to lap 28, and here we go. We're approaching the final few laps, but this is getting incredibly tense.
Absolutely. Jan Ortmir is going to start to think about going for the win and striking first. Where can he go for it? Will he go for it this time by? He's not on the battery as they head down in towards turn number 1. Otis Lawrence is not going to be too upset if Jan Ortmir gets on by, and now in towards the first corner. Ortmir deploys the battery ever so slightly up the inside in towards turn number 1. He's going to try and fight this move out on lap number 28. Otis Lawrence shutting the door on the inside line. How are they going to run? Wheel to wheel. Who's got the DRS? It is the Dutchman on the inside line with the power of the DRS, and he makes the move on lap number 28. 2 more more to go. Uppbeat leads from Otis Lawrence in P2 and Danny Moreno still in P3, but the top 5 all within a second of each other. What is going to happen here? I just do not know at this point.
That was genius. Genius from Uppbeat. He decided to break early into turn 1, and that caught off Otis, because Otis was guaranteed in his head that he was getting the DRS, but Uppbeat breaking slightly earlier enabled him to get the DRS, and he didn't have to use any overtake on the exit of turn number 3, because it just enabled him to use the DRS, and he breezed past McLaren. This is a critical middle sector now for Jan Uppbeat, and he needs a good final corner to defend from this McLaren team of Otis Lawrence and Danny Moreno, because they're going to be right on the back of the Mercedes man.
He's off like a shot. He's using up the battery. He's now 6/10 clear of Otis Lawrence, headed down into this penultimate straight before they get onto the final lap of the season opener. What a race it has been. We have 3,000 people watching in the live chat. Make sure you're subscribing and make sure you're liking the stream. As here we go now in towards turn number 1. Jarno Uppbeat, he seems to have the gap. Otis Lawrence can't get close enough as they're all burning up the battery in towards turn number 1, and that is crucial. The best overtaking opportunity has come and gone for Otis Lawrence. Uppbeat on lap number 29. He's leading the way.
Unbelievable stuff from Uppbeat. He's had this planned out, and he's absolutely delivered on that plan. Unbelievable stuff from Jarno Uppbeat. He's been so calculated through this race. A lot of drivers would have panicked seeing this McLaren wall, but he stayed so calm and relaxed, and the strategy has paid off like a charm, because he's now got the better tyres. He can really relax through this middle sector. He just can't afford any kind of mistake now through this middle sector, and this should be Jarno Uppbeat's first victory here in WOR on the new game.
I've got goosebumps watching this one. We are seeing tactical genius from Jarno Uppbeat. Played this perfectly. Everything has fallen in place, and he has manipulated this Grand Prix exactly the way he has wanted. Otis Lawrence really with no chance of getting on by. There's no more DRS zones for him to attack with. Jarno Uppbeat just has to navigate one more sector on the final lap of this race. He took the alternate strategy. He grabbed this race by the horn. No one is able to contest him from this point onwards. Your season 13 champion returning to WOR off the exit of the final corner. Otis Lawrence can't do it. The Dutchman, Jarno Uppbeat, takes victory in Bahrain. Otis Lawrence P2. Danny Moreno comes home in 3rd. What a season opener that we have seen. And it goes the way of Mercedes. It goes the way of Jarno Uppbeat. And he stands atop the win. And he gets that one today. Incredible stuff. I'm almost lost for words, Ryan.
Yeah, that was incredible, Dan, from start to finish, and that qualifying was just as good as the race. Honestly, from start to finish, this Bahrain Grand Prix has been sensational, and this probably could be one of the best races of the season, and it's only round 1. And that's the scariest thing about this, because the racing should only get better from here. But my oh my, that was unbelievable from Jarno Uppbeat today. From start to finish, he was calculated and he was calm, and that was an unbelievable performance. But you've got to give credit to the McLaren team. They threw everything at Jarno today, and you know, Uppbeat was just able to handle the pressure.
Oh, my heart is thumping at the minute. Incredible stuff that we have seen today. I think we saw a fastest lap on the final lap from someone there as, wow, Jarno Uppbeat taking a victory in this one. There's so many questions I want to ask him. I really do hope that we get him in the interview room to talk with him about how he's played this race. Pending any stewards results, we'll get the classification on your screen, and we'll let you know as Jarno Uppbeat, there he is, celebrating atop the podium. And there he is. Interesting that he's not using his own in-game face that Codemasters so graciously gave him for winning 2 esports titles. But he is standing atop the podium. Nevertheless, his team look on, and he'll get to spray the champagne across everyone. And wow, it's just an incredible race we've seen today. Here's a look at the the classification, Jan Ortmir wins this Grand Prix. Second is Otis Lawrence, Danny Moreno in third, Tomek Peranjic in fourth, and Nicolas Longue finds himself in P5. Max Wiesel ends up in sixth, and Rune Pedreño has a nice drive. 7 places gained in this one, up into seventh. Eighth for Flores Valles, Shanaka Clay up into ninth. Alvaro Caraton, a very disappointing day from him in P10. Ikabaena, with his soft strategy, finds himself ahead of Ulash Zildrim in 11th and 12th, and it was Philip Presnader from last on the grid up into 13th. Disconnecting from the session, Fabrizio Donoso in 14th. Chanakinchi did not have a good one today, neither did his Alfa Romeo teammate of Andrei Tarabukin. They are 15th and 16th. Piotr Stahalek, after his collision, just could not recover in this race, and indeed it was Dylan Warren in 18th position, taking the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Your 2 retirements today, Jake Benham and Luke Smith, and I think we need a minute to calm down here and really digest what we have witnessed here, Ryan.
Yeah, it was honestly unbelievable from start to finish. Every single driver really did decide to really deliver an unbelievable race. You know, we saw so many drivers going 3 wide into so many different corners. You know, the moves left, right, and centre were just incredible from every single person. And I'm surprised we didn't see any more crashes, to be honest. It just shows the maturity of a lot of these drivers, and the racecraft as well is at an all-time high.
Yeah, we league racing can get very heated, and a lot of stuff can happen when it comes to this, and it's so unpredictable. Internet, desync, everything can be an issue, but we saw a very clean race. I think that's the most important thing. It was exciting, but most importantly, it was clean. Every move that we saw was fair. We didn't see any push to passes or anything. We saw slight bits of contact, but that's just going to happen in racing. All in all, an incredible Grand Prix.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't think we'll see much better racing this season from anywhere else, because Bahrain, I think, is just so inviting for that kind of racing from everybody. And fair play to every single one involved, because Jarno could have easily lost this race if one driver broke ever so slightly late. So credit to everybody involved for delivering us such a great race to commentate over.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there's no need for us to waste any time here and getting into the interviews. Jan Ortmir is already in that waiting room. We'll drag him in to the Discord and head over. There we are, into the post-race interviews. Jan Ortmir, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, first off, let's talk about your qualifying. You put it on pole position coming into this one. Were you expecting to have such a strong qualifying?
No, I think the last time I had pole position was on F1 2021, so it was different to be on pole position again.
Absolutely, and it really did work in your favour. Of course, heading into that race, you were able to lead from the front on a set of the medium compounder tyres, whilst everyone else behind you was on the hards. What was your decision making in that strategy?
Yeah, not much. I mean, in PSL I did hard medium, and now I wanted to do the opposite, so there was not much thought process behind it. I just wanted to try the opposite, so yeah.
And it's worked an absolute treat. You came off with the victory today, and it really did work in your favour. Of course, heading into the last few laps of the race, following in behind the 2 McLarens, what was going through your head when you saw them working together?
Yeah, it was to be expected, of course. But my hearts were only going to get faster, of course, compared to the medium, so I was a little bit patient. There were some hairy moments going 3 wide into turn 4, for example. And then because I went for the switchback and really had to slow down to go for the switchback, I think Nico locked up. I was a bit surprised I was going so slow, so he almost hit me. So I was really lucky to get away with that. And yeah, then in the final few laps, I kind of knew that I had enough pace left to beat both Danny and Otis, because my hards were just getting faster compared to their mediums. And I think in the last lap they were absolutely faster, because you could see in the middle sector pulling a gap to Otis. So yeah.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm lost for words at what we've just seen, because it was a fantastic race throughout the entirety of it. And I want to ask one more thing: when you made that move on the 2 McLarens, what was the first thing that went through your head?
Well, they were not at the same time, of course. Ideal situation, you either P1 or P2, which is what, of course, the McLarens tried to do as well. And I knew I either had to go into P1 or P2. And Danny, of course, didn't have DRS and had the oldest tires of all of us, so he couldn't simply couldn't do anything anymore at that point. So I decided to slot in behind Otis. And then the lap later to just overtake him because I felt like I had enough pace to just stay ahead in the last lap. So that's what I did.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a well-worked Grand Prix from your point of view, and it was incredible to witness live. I'll let you get away and enjoy that victory. And the live chat here in the WOR stream went absolutely mental. I'd imagine it was much the same in your Twitch chat. So really well done this evening. Coming into the next few races, really do hope that we can hear back from you in the commentary box and in the interview room. But really well done, Jan Ortmir.
Thank you, man.
Okay, that brings us to the end of one interview. We'll bring in Otis, Lawrence, and Ryan. How about you talk to the man who has finished in P2 today?
Yeah, Otis. That was a bit of a dramatic race for you today. You know, the strategy obviously went your way quite well. Just take me through the qualifying first of all. It was quite up and down for you today.
Hello Ryan, hope you're well. The quality wasn't the best. I was struggling a bit with obviously you have to drift a lot in the slower corners. So yeah, I'm glad I got P4 in Q3. I was not expecting it from PSG being P10. And then in the race we had really good pace. I believe Fabrizio desynced, so that helped us a bit as well. And yeah, Yano was really fast in our hards. Didn't we just? I think the main goal to bet on those mediums was to try and break the DRS of the hards of Yano. And obviously it didn't work, and Yano's going to obviously be fastest at the end. So I wasn't expecting the win as much, but I was trying to obviously get it. So yeah, I'm glad with the result. P2 is really good, and yeah, hopefully we can continue this.
Yeah, the strategy I thought was really, really well worked, and you and Danny were working so well together that I was saying about the McLaren wall. Was really formed that whole race. You were making sure Yano had no opportunity to get through, and that was working really well for you. And was it just really down to the tyres falling off at the end there, which really unfortunately just led to the wall really crumbling?
I wouldn't say, because Yano is obviously really fast in the race, so yeah, I would say a little bit on the both sides, but still, yeah, we had really good pace. Just I think Yano was a bit faster today, but still I'll work on it. Bahrain isn't my best track overall, but yeah, hopefully we can continue this. I've already said this, but yeah, I think we had the pace today to win, but we didn't because I think Yano's a bit faster, too fast.
Just a bit, and Austria coming up next. How would you feel around there? Because it's obviously it's been updated, and past races around there, you've been very, very quick, and it's a really exciting track. But I was just wondering, how are you feeling heading into that one next week?
I'm not really sure. I haven't really done too much Austria. I know it's quite a lot of RNG corners, so yeah, this could be a nightmare to do, just like Bahrain. But I don't know if I'll be racing. But if I am racing, I'm gonna try and get a win, hopefully.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time. Dan, have you got anything to ask?
Oh, I've got no other questions for you, Otis, but really well done today, and that was certainly a race you could be proud of, and I really do hope that in the next coming weeks, we head to Austria next if you are racing. I really do hope we can hear from you once again in the interview room, but really well done today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think that means we can conclude with our interview. Wrap up this stream, Ryan. What else can we say about this race? I mean, that is already a contender. Obviously, it is the race of the season because it's the only race of the season so far. But come the end of this of season 15, surely we're going to be talking about round number 1 again.
I think so. Honestly, I don't think we'll get racing like we got today. 3 wide. I swear to God, it's nearly at every corner. Like, turn 1, 3 wide, 4 wide, and then turn 4, they were going 4 wide, 3 wide. I was like, when's there going to be a big crash? And they managed to keep it clean every single time. That's what amazed me the most. Jarno did really well, well to mention about how he could have, easily crashed out that race because, he did that switchback and Longe nearly went into the back of him. This is just fine margins in league racing. But again, it's unbelievable job from Jarno to pull off that written. But I don't think I'll be so surprised if we see as good as racing as we've just seen at Bahrain.
I know. I mean, it was insane, and it is going to be so hard to top that come the season end. I can't wipe the smile off my face at the minute after what we've just seen, but yeah, I'm really hoping for more racing like that. We had over 3,000 people viewing this stream. We also hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. The growth of WOR has been incredible, and that is all thanks to you guys watching at home, tuning in and supporting us. So thank you so much for watching this race. If you haven't already, of course, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and drop a like. Before we head off, I'll give you one quick reminder of the calendar. Next week we head to Austria. Of course, the season finale that took place last season. That was certainly an exciting race, and I'm expecting much of the same heading into that one. But Ryan, anything else left to add before we head off today?
No, just thank you to the drivers for putting on such a show for me and you to commentate over, because honestly, that was unbelievable action from start to finish.
Absolutely, it was so fun to commentate on. I cannot wait to do it all over again next week in Austria. But once again, thank you everyone so much for tuning in this evening. It was a pleasure for myself and Ryan to commentate on. If you want to follow WOR on Twitter, it's at WOR League. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated with all your WOR news. Make sure you join our Discord. The link is in the description. If you want to follow myself on Twitter, it is at DanFieldF1_. If you want to follow Ryan, it is Ryan. Then there's, I think it's 4. I'm not going to say it all out, but it's 3 underscores. I'm pretty sure the at is.
Yeah.
Ryan ___ Jacobs. And if you need help spelling either of them, they're just below our faces here. But once again, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in this evening, and we will see you next time in Austria. Thank you, and good night.